What's going on, Miners fans? Welcome back to beautiful Herman Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska, where we've got a primetime showdown for you tonight. It's the Mat-Su Miners taking on the Anchorage Bucs in a matchup of two of the top teams in the Alaska Baseball League. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows joining you from the friendly confines of Herman Brothers, and it is so good to be back here, Charlie.
Friendly is one of a million positive words I would choose to describe this place. It's been a long time since we were here with the MLB Showcase and then a week down in Kenai, but it has never felt better to be back in the Valley.
Like you mentioned, we're coming back from Kenai, and there was a lot of action that took place throughout that series, and in the final game especially. The Miners had a big game against Peninsula trying to get a win back. Let's see if they could do it. Check out the highlights.
It's the last stand of the Mat-Su Miners tonight at Coral Seymour Memorial Ballpark as they look to avoid the 5-game sweep versus the Peninsula Oilers. It has been decades since the Oilers have been able to sweep Mat-Su at home, and with that history, the final chapter in Kenai.
For Richard, so numbers 1 and 2 in that particular department due up.
Bisaccia with a ground ball right to the third baseman. McDaniel throws it over. A run's going to score for the Miners. And Mat-Su is on the board. Bisaccia out at first, but that is going to be an RBI as it is Kyle McCausland coming home, and Mat-Su strikes first. Times 1-0 count. Here's a high fly ball deep to left center field. Back towards the wall it goes, and this is going to set down right between the center and right and left fielders. Coming around to third base now and stopping will be Aiden Sullivan with a triple for the Oilers. Going to force a big play here, and he does force a walk. Ball number 4. A third straight walk issued by Aaron Morris, and Mat-Su has the bases juiced. Who has also forced a walk in this game so far. Aaron Morris with 5 total walks issued against this Mat-Su lineup.
Including 3 in a row. Kyle McCausland forced one back in the second inning. If he did that again, it would be the classic run, lack of batted in.
High fly ball to left center field, back towards that wall it goes, and this ball is going to land at the base of the wall. One run's going to score easily. Here comes the second, and stopping at third for Mat-Su will be Nick Ferry. It is a 2-run double for Kyle McCausland.
Game they played at Herman Brothers Field. They return to those friendly confines on Monday. Here's an opposite field shot that'll drop for a base hit. McCausland's rounding third. He's going to try to score. Vogelsong Lewis's throw was offline. Now the catcher has to throw to second, and in safely with a double is Chase Wilcox, legging it out on a bad throw from Vogelsong Lewis, and the Miners up 5-1.
In a long time, but they are absolutely feeling it right now, and they're playing with confidence, the most important thing for Mat-Su.
That's hit well into left center field. Vogelsong Lewis coming on. It's a high pop, and sliding and making the catch actually was Soto. He throws to home plate, but it won't be in time, so Wilcox tags and scores to make this a 6-1 ball game.
This is where Mat-Su's outfield has got to be ready to go. We know what he's capable of, especially in right field.
He struck him out, drops in a curveball right into the zone. Robson does not make the most of his second opportunity. It is strikeout number 7 for Tucker Timmerman. He is absolutely on fire. 0-1. Lined into center field, and that's going to drop down for a base hit. One run is going to score. Holding up at third will be Colin Robson, but it's an RBI single. The bases will stay loaded, and the Oilers make it a 4-run game. Line shot to second, throwing on to the shortstop for 1, on to first, not in time to turn 2, and a run comes in to make it 6-3. Robson scores with Vogelsong Lewis at third and Sullivan at first. Aiden Delinsky trying to get out of it, and Sullivan's going to go. Throw comes down to second. This is going to be close, and he's safe, and now a runner comes and scores on a double steal, a textbook attempt. They risked everything on Aiden Sullivan getting in time. He did, so taking advantage and scoring is Vogelsong Lewis, and just like that, 3 runs come home. 6-1 is now 6-4 here in the 7th inning.
Mat-Su is already knocking on the door of victory. This is just going to make it even tougher. Here's a line shot. It gets into left field for a base hit. A run's going to score for Mat-Su. That could have been a lot worse than what it was, but it got by both McDaniel and Soto on an odd hop, and Mat-Su has taken a 3-run lead, an RBI single for Riker Scout. Opportunity, though, is knocking here against Ty Thomas. Here's a fly ball into left field. That gets down for a base hit. One run's going to score. Here comes the second. This one goes all the way near the corner. Sliding into third is Riker Scow. It is a 2-run single for Brandon Duran, and that might be the knockout blow.
Finally lost last night.
All streaks must come to an end, and this one will as well, as there's a strikeout for Matsu, able to get a strikeout looking on Colin Robson. This streak will come to an end if the pitching continues to deliver like Drew Kennan just did.
Strikeout number 11 for the Miners. I'm going to keep counting that, and they're down to their last out. Elijah Vogelsong Lewis. In 2 2/3 innings prior, he had not given one up.
This ball popped up into shallow center field. A bunch of Miners down there, and the catch is made by Ryan Richard, and that will do it. The Miners finally strike gold once again and take home a 9-4 win over the Peninsula Oilers here on the road. The losing streak comes to an end, and the Miners are back in the win column, back to 500 at 5-5 on the year, behind an incredible offense, a solid defense, and some great pitching. A signature win for the Miners as they get ready to head back to Palmer tomorrow.
All right, so a big success in that 9-4 win for Matsu on Saturday, but overall in the series, Charlie, Matsu had a lot of issues getting some ground.
Yeah, it was a tough sledding down in Kenai for the Miners. They scored just 17 runs across those 5 games, including a shutout loss and a pair of 1-run showings. They had scored 45 runs in the 5 games leading up to that. So from the best offense in the league to one of the worst, they batted just 191 across those games, 33 hits and 173 at-bats. That doesn't count walks, reached on errors and stuff like that, but still not a great stat. And it was such tough sledding for the Miners that despite having a 12-run head start on Anchorage, who they're playing today, the Bucs have edged them out by a single run, and they are now the top scoring offense in the ABL. Matsu, of course, hoping to retake that crown, and they can do it with a win today.
They very well could. All they need to do is beat the Bucs in this game. Should be fun to see how all of that goes down. Well, we had an opportunity to talk to the Player of the Week for Matsu. Let's take a look and hear from him directly. This is your Matsu Miners Player of the Week. What's going on, Miners fans? Dylan Simmons here. We've got a big announcement for this guy right here, Mr. Rocco Bernardina. Rocco, I've got great news for you. You are the Matsu Miners Player of the Week. How's that sound?
Sounds awesome. I'm ready to get some more wins this week.
Yes, sir. Happy to see that as we got teammates throwing in some baseballs behind you. I think that's Coach LeBron. He's going to make life very hard on us trying to do this interview, but we're going to do it regardless. So, Rocco, first off, great performance against Peninsula back in that game that warranted you the Player of the Week. So, what was the secret and what was dialed in for you in that?
I think really just trying to stay within myself. And then there's a lot of support from the guys on the team, and everybody wants to get better, and everybody's happy when someone does better. So it's really nice knowing that the guys around me are also in it with me.
All right, now you had a great season with Kent State this past 2024 college baseball year. What did you learn from Kent State that you've applied here to the Matsu Miners?
I think the biggest thing is that you want to have more fun than the other team, and winning's really fun. And in order to do that, you have to do the same thing every day, and it can be monotonous, but in all reality, it's for the best. It's for the best of you, it's for the best of the program, and it makes winning more fun, and nobody likes to lose. So,
like that philosophy. Now, what do you think you and the team learned after this road trip in Kenai against the Oilers that you guys are going to use for the rest of the season?
Well, so I said to the team after our game, when I pitched, and I said we didn't lose today, we got beat. And really, there's a difference between losing and getting beat. And we played our best baseball, we lost the game this week. We played some really bad baseball, we lost the game this week. We played great baseball, we won a game this week. And it's really, the best thing you can do is just play your best baseball every day, and that's what we're trying to do.
I like that. From my lens, you've been a great leader for this team, so that's been awesome to see, Rocco. And last question for you, obviously you've got an advantage over me right now,
yeah.
Height. What is the secret to height? Because I've been searching for it my entire life, and I still haven't found it. So where does it come from? What push-ups do you do? What kind of juice do you drink? How do you get this tall?
My big thing is playing hacky sack with the guys. I think it really helps my posture a little bit.
Posture. Okay, gotcha. That's all there is to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, Rocco Bernardina, Player of the Week. Awesome stuff. Back to you. All right, you heard the wise words from Rocco Bernardina, and I liked a lot of the insight he gave about what Matsu learned about this past series and what they're going to use to apply that coming through these upcoming games.
I also got to give him props. We alluded to it in the moment, but several hecklers, players and coaches alike were throwing baseballs at him during the interview, and he kept his composure. He did well. I gotta say, I'm a communications student right now, hoping to be a broadcaster one day. I don't think I would have held my composure as well as he did, so he deserves some serious props for that.
Absolute focus is what we saw from Rock on the mound. Well, now it's time to take a look at the starting lineups for tonight. We will start with the Anchorage Bucs, Charlie.
Matsu finally has the home team today. They're playing host to the top offense in the ABL, and leading off is one of the most terrifying names in that lineup, Zane Kelly. He hit a home run that ended up being the deciding factor in that 10-9 roller coaster that the Bucs won a couple weeks ago. Andrew Lamb batting second, Ryan Callahan third, Tommy Eisenstadt, the cleanup man, Will Burns, Max Ross, Adam Enyart, who's in the lineup today despite being a starting pitcher against the Miners earlier in the season. Brody Briggs as the catcher, Christian Powell batting ninth, and Zan Rose on the mound. They've got a Zan and a Zane in the lineup, Dylan.
A Zan and a Zane. And meanwhile, for the Matsu Miners, leading off for them in this game will be Drake Kerr, the center fielder, who has been sensational as of late. Had a great series against the Oilers. Blake Bouts will be the catcher. Don Patrizi, the second baseman. Christian Perez back at first base. Kyle McCausland in left field. Kellen Strohmeyer in right field. Brandon Duran takes over at the DH spot. Chase Wilcox at third base, and Ryan Richard, the shortstop, who has been very, very solid as of late. And Ryan Harrahill, the Nebraska man, will be on the mound for Matsu. We saw how well Tucker Timmerman did in his game against the Oilers on Saturday. Maybe that'll translate for Harrahill today. All right, it's going to be a good one tonight, folks. Don't go anywhere. We'll have the Miners and the Bucs when we come back.
Well, it's been a long time gone, but we've never felt better to be back in Palmer. Welcome inside Herman Brothers Field, the friendly confines, home of the Matsu Miners. After a week and a half away, they're finally home and taking on the ABL's top team in the Anchorage Bucs. This is going to be an absolute thriller to watch, Dylan, and we're so happy to bring it to all of you.
Oh, we are absolutely pumped to have this game tonight, a rematch of these two when they faced off back on June the 8th right here at Herman Brothers Field. It was a barn burner between those two, came right down to the wire. Matsu fell in that game just by a score of 10-9, and they scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th to make the game close at the end, but just couldn't overcome the Bucs. But now Matsu is looking for revenge and trying to keep their hot streak going after picking up a big win this past Saturday and trying to translate that here today.
Well, it's a hot streak of 1 win in a row because the trip down to Kenai last week did not go exactly as the Miners might have hoped. If you watched our pregame show, which, by the way, always watch our pregame show, the one we had today, probably the best one we've produced, almost 15 minutes long of content that you don't get during the broadcast. I really recommend it. But included among that content was just how much the offense for the Miners struggled over the course of that trip. They dropped their team average below 200, outscored the Oilers over the course of the series because they won Game 5 by a lot, but dropped below their rank of the best offensive team in the ABL. The Bucs actually took that crown from them. They're ahead by one singular run. So that title is on the line today, and of course, some valuable positioning in the standings of the Alaska Baseball League. We're about ready to get started here. Zane Kelly is going to lead off against Ryan Harrahill, the man on the mound for Mat-Su out of Nebraska.
And we know the danger that Zane Kelly presents, one of two batters who have a home run against Mat-Su this year. The other, Colin Robson from the Oilers, who has two.
And pitch one is outside, and we are underway to Zane Kelly, who is in right field today, also moonlights as a catcher. 1-0 is in the dirt and gets away from the Miners catcher, who today is Brandon Durand, or excuse me, that's Blake Baltz behind the dish. Zane Kelly, 360 hitter with 2 home runs out of San Diego State. Also doubles as a pitcher, so he can do just about everything, including hit the long ball. He's done it at this park, as Dylan mentioned. Fires in a strike, does Harrahill, 2-1.
Yeah, he's a very versatile threat for the Bucs and has shown that time and time again. And he's going to be a big part of their hopes of winning this game. Just so explosive off the bat. 5 hits already on the year. 9 walks forced as well, 294 average, and he had 3 RBIs against the Miners back on June 8th, along with 2 hits.
3-1. Foul that back out of play. Harrahill on the bump for Mat-Su. He's appeared in 2 games for the Miners. Has a 1-0 record, 4 1/3 innings pitched, has allowed 3 hits, no runs. His 2.08 ERA is 3rd best on the squad behind Jack Hostetler and Ryan Peterson. And that's hit well into right center field. Kellen Strohmeyer arranging, and Drake Kerr is calling for it. He's got it for out number 1.
Yeah, pretty routine flyout, and Drake Kerr, one of the best in the outfield for Mat-Su. He's a guy who the Miners are going to be leaning on heavily when it comes to the defensive side of the baseball. Nice fly out there, and that's an easy first one.
The defensive alignment for Mat-Su: Christian Perez at first, Dom Patrizzi at second, Ryan Richard at short, Chase Wilcox at third. The outfield from left to right: Kyle McCausland, Drake Kerr, and Kellen Strohmeyer. And Blake Baltz, as I mentioned, behind the dish, making his Herman Brothers field debut, catching for Harrahill. Now here's Andrew Lamb, the catcher for the Bucs, and he takes a ball.
Well, you talked about Ryan Harrahill, the freshman out of Elkhorn, Nebraska, plays for the Huskers. 2 appearances on the year so far, 2.08 ERA, so he's been very, very solid. And he's also, along with his partner in crime, Tucker Timmerman, both of them Cornhuskers, have been 2 of the most explosive pitchers when it comes to strikeouts on the year as well. Had that great tandem in the MLB Showcase, and now trying to keep that up here and on Saturday.
2-0 is skied off to left in foul territory, giving chases Perez, but he's not going to get it. There's the customary glass-shattering sound effect that some joker is playing whenever somebody hits a foul ball. It's good to be back. Just the little things you miss about Herman Brothers Field. Whenever during the player introduction, somebody's got a kazoo down there, they blow it. Here's the 2-1. Outside, they blow the kazoo after every Miners player's name is announced. Just nothing like home.
It's a unique place, a great venue, and in my humble opinion, the best place to watch ABL baseball.
3-1. Outside, ball 4. Andrew Lamb is aboard.
Well, this is the one thing that Mat-Su was hoping to avoid early on against the Bucs, giving them free passes. They were pretty good about minimizing that against the Peninsula Oilers, although there were some moments where they let it slip, and right there, that's a quick walk to Andrew Lamb, and not what you want to do if you're trying to keep the Bucs away and limit this offense.
Ryan Harrahill came into the day with 3 walks on the season in those 4 1/3 innings pitched, and he makes it 4 with that free pass there. Ryan Callahan ready to dig in. The third baseman takes a pitch high. Callahan out of Wichita State. Same general neck of the woods as Harrahill, although I'm sure it's probably like a 9-hour drive between Wichita and wherever the University of Nebraska is. I don't know that off the top of my head. 1-1.
Lincoln, Nebraska.
It is Lincoln. Okay, I was thinking
Yes.
that, but I didn't want to.
Partially the center of the sports world.
A lot of sports going on today. Of course, the Edmonton Oilers are going for a 3-0 comeback in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's never been done in NHL history. It's been done 4 times in the playoffs, but never in the finals, as that's hit into foul territory. Giving chase here is McCausland, but it drops right on the edge of the bullpen for the Anchorage Bucs. It'll be 1 ball, 2 strikes to Callahan.
Yeah, we've seen Callahan before for the Bucs this year, and this is part of the... One of them can have a great night, even if they're not usually the top threat on the team. There's no real weak link in this lineup, and that's what makes them so hard to deal with, especially if you're a pitcher.
Runner goes, that's high. Baltz is going to throw down, and he got him in time. Blake Baltz catches Andrew Lamb going for second. That's his second pickoff of the season. And the base paths are now empty in front of Ryan Callahan.
Man, a nice throw out that time by Blake Baltz, able to get it to second base in time. And this is what Mat-Su needs to see from him moving forward. That was a great job, and that's a huge out for out 2.
Apologize for that, briefly showing the "We'll be right back" screen. That was a misclick. You didn't miss much. That's golfed into shallow left field by Tommy Eisenstadt, and that'll fall down into the glove of Kyle McCausland for out number 3. Eisenstadt is number 1 in the ABL in batting average, but he stays off the base paths that time. A unconventional 1-2-3 frame for Ryan Harrahill, but a 1-2-3 frame all the same. Top 1 in the books, 0-0 game. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. In Palmer, Alaska, home of the Mat-Su Miners, a home they are so happy to finally be back in after a week away, a week of hardships and tribulations at the hands of the Peninsula Oilers. Finally don't have to see the Oilers for a little while. These Anchorage Bucs are actually going to see the Oilers in a few weeks, but right now, more importantly, they're in Herman Brothers Field taking on the Miners, and they've got Zan Rose on the bump, a new face for Mat-Su.
Yeah, right-handed pitcher out of Tampa, Florida, plays for Winthrop. He does have 1 appearance this year and 4 innings pitched, and this is a guy who didn't see any action for Winthrop this past season, but in 2023 led the team in ERA and saves with 6 total on the season, a 3.41 earned run average. And prior to Winthrop, he was Rookie of the Year for his high school and the Tim Cruz Pitcher of the Year, an all-conference pitcher. This is a guy who knows how to get the job done and can always deliver you starting inning, or rather solid innings as the starter. And that's going to be the key as they try to limit this Mat-Su offense, which was very potent back on Saturday. And in their minds, they're hoping to recapture their magic.
He'll be facing a lineup of Drake Kerr, Blake Baltz, Dom Patrizzi, Christian Perez, Kyle McCausland, Kellen Strohmeyer, Brandon Durand, Chase Wilcox, and Ryan Richard. A 9-deep lineup full of dangerous hitters, and the Bucs know that better than just about anybody. They did eke out a win a couple weeks ago, but not without allowing 9 runs in the process. Drake Kerr will lead off, center fielder out of Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Got himself a triple in one of the games down in Kenai, but it was in vain. He takes a ball. Kerr this season hitting .306 with 7 runs batted in. And he lines one foul down the left field line. It actually went over the fence, but was not in the field of play. The Miners have 4 of the top 5 RBI men in the ABL, despite not having the highest scoring offense anymore.
Drake's been one of the most consistent batters for Mat-Su this season. Also tied for the most hits. Here's a bunt.
And he lays down a bunt. This is Drake Kerr's specialty. He can't leg it out that time, but we've seen him do that a few times this season.
Yeah, that was very close that time, and like you mentioned, he has been very good when it comes to his bunting ability. Showed a nice one right there. It's all a matter of execution, if Xan Rose can handle it or can't handle it. He was able to that time, but I guarantee you if Drake sees an opportunity, he will not hesitate to do the same thing once again. Easily the best bunter on this team.
I'm not sure how you would quantify the top sacrifice bunters in the ABL, but whatever that list is, Drake Kerr is on it, and he's probably at the top. Here is Blake Baltz, the catcher from UCLA, takes an offering outside from Xan Rose.
First time ever at Herman Brothers Field as a player, and he is excited to get on the diamond and show his stuff in front of this home crowd. He had to go basically straight to Kenai after getting off the plane. This is the first time he's really had an opportunity.
And he lines it into right field for a base hit. Blake Baltz, the second pitch he sees at home, he rips for a single. That's a strong sign of better things to come in this home ballpark for the catcher.
Well, we've seen evidence of just how explosive he can be. He had that 2 RBI, 2-hit game against Peninsula in game number 1. And here he delivers a nice ground ball single into right field, right past Christian Powell, the second baseman, showing his ability early. And that's what Matsu's going to need tonight. They're going to need consistent hitting. And most importantly, they're going to have to find a way to finish off runs if they got runners on base. That was one thing they struggled with against Peninsula.
And the best way to get a run is to just hit it over the fence yourself. And right now, the guy at the plate, Don Patrizzi, the only one on the minors who knows what that's like in an Alaska ballpark. Patrizzi had a solo dinger in Game 4 of the Oilers series. He's the only one on the minors who has one, but he'd love to add to that total right here. 1-0 in the dirt.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that home run is that the home run and the triple from Drake Kerr came back-to-back, basically, between innings. You had Drake Kerr's triple in the 8th, and you had Don Patrizzi's home run in the 7th. So Matsu had two explosive plays, the first of its kind in the year, back-to-back.
Opposite field, down, and that's foul. Just missed what would have been an extra base hit for sure, given the speed of the man from Lehigh, but he'll have to bat again. 2-1 the count. Dom on the season, 211 average, leads the ABL with 10 runs batted in. Has also drawn 9 walks. He started the season as the leadoff man for the Miners before being supplanted in that role by Drake Kerr. But make no mistake, he is one of the best in the team at on-base percentage. In fact, the best, .432 on-base percentage. Paces Matsu. Here's a 2-1, and he lines that foul the other way. That was almost a double down the left field line.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. Wherever he is in the lineup, he's going to be a significant threat, and he's very good, especially when it comes to gap shots. But we've seen his power, like you mentioned, with the home run. He is one of the most versatile threats on this team. He can go short, he can go long, and when you have that kind of hitter, it just makes you feel all the more comfortable having them at the plate. You've got a much better feeling about them delivering.
2-2, just misses. Xan Rose not happy. And
I think they're going to call a balk there.
Yeah, they did. He stepped off. I was wondering, he looked uncharacteristically mad, I think, for what would have just been a near miss. So that's going to be the first balk we've seen of the season, or at least the first balk that was called as such. People who have been watching all the Oilers games know that is not necessarily the same thing. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. So Patrizzi goes down. Balt's at second now, but 2 away for Christian Perez.
Nice low pitch that time by Xan Rose. We saw him earlier on in this inning trying the higher elevated pitches, but this time he goes low and is able to get Patrizzi swinging. That's one thing we've seen Patrizzi do this year, is strike out on low pitches, and takes place once again. Now Christian Perez comes to the plate, who's kind of looking to get back on track. Had a bit of a cold streak against the Oilers, but still a very dangerous threat nonetheless.
Yeah, we named him the Miners Player of the Week for the first week of action, and he immediately ran into a bit of a snag down there. He hits that one well out to right center field, but not terribly deep. Center fielder coming on, making the grab is the Max Ross, the center fielder for the Bucs, and that will retire the side. The Miners strand another man in scoring position, and it'll be 0-0 after 1. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. the second inning we go here in Palmer. Miners 0, Bucs 0 after one frame of action. Just a little clarification we want to make. The center fielder for the Anchorage Bucs is not, in fact, Max Ross. It is Riley Hunsaker. The lineup we were given said that Max Ross was the center fielder, but it appears that was an error. So Hunsaker is out in center. He will bat sixth in Max Ross's stead. Just want to make sure that is clear for the duration of the game. He is due up, but Tommy Eisenstadt and Will Burns will bat before him.
Yeah, either could have been a mistake or maybe even a late change by the Bucs. We're not sure, but either way, it's going to be Hunsaker out in center field now. And here comes Tommy Eisenstadt, the man out of Gonzaga. 23 at-bats on the year, 9 hits, 4 ribbies, and a .391 average, the top batting average in the Alaska Baseball League. And he had a season-high 3 hits versus Chugiak back on June 12th. This is a dangerous man, one that you do not want to mess with.
Eisenstadt, Brody Briggs, and Will Burns, who are two other names you will see later in this lineup, are 1, 2, 3 in the ABL in average. And that is how you score more runs than anybody else in the ABL. That's a tight pitch in for a ball from Ryan Harrahill. Eisenstadt playing first base today out of Gonzaga. Takes a strike there. Not sure if you can see them on the broadcast, but there are these little white, puffy, I don't know if they're seeds or some kind of just object floating in the breeze, ripped down the foul line down right field. That was a bullet, but avoids becoming an extra base hit. And a few of them have already blown into the press box through the wide open window we have during this game. So just great being one with nature during games like this. Here's a 1-2. Way outside. Good stop by Baltz.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to see in terms of nature up here in Alaska. We've seen moose on the way home from a game. We've seen these seeds in the air. And, of course, the snow is still prevalent on some of the mountains out here.
Fouled back there by Eisenstadt. 2-2 the count remains.
So for those of you who are in the south, maybe in Texas, Oklahoma watching, where it's probably 90 degrees right now, there's still snow up here in Alaska.
On the mountains, not on the ground.
Yes, not on the ground.
Check swing. He did not go around, so that'll work the count full.
But the fact that you can still see it is still crazy to me. That's
And the approach of not wanting to screw around with allowing a big hit off of Eisenstadt's bat, because that will happen if you're not careful. But unfortunately, by walking the top ABL batter, you now get to dig in against the third best batter in the
still kind of trying to find the zone and find his rhythm early on. And obviously, you've got to be careful doing that against these Bucs batters. They will absolutely make you pay.
Burns fouled that one back, and in case you needed more evidence that we're back at Herman Brothers, you got that shake of the camera whenever a foul ball hits the backstop. 0-1. Right down the middle for a strike.
That was a beautiful strike that time. High in the zone, but a nice breaking ball. Something that Harrahill's very comfortable with and where he feels at his best. And I'd say he might try that again or maybe mix in the fastball here to try to get a strikeout.
And that's exactly what he'll do. A high pitch swung right through by Will Burns, the first K for the Cornhusker.
Beautiful fastball. I thought he might go to it, and that's exactly what he did, right down the pipe. And we don't have a radar gun on that, but I'd say that was somewhere in the 90s. Beautiful pitch from Harrahill.
So Riley Hunsaker will bat with 2 away. The late sub for Max Ross. And actually, I'm not sure if this is Hunsaker. Throw comes over to first. Is that number 4? Can you make that out?
I am trying to get a look at it right
excuse me,
now.
not number 4.
That is
That's
number 1.
so
That is
that's gonna
Riley
be,
Hunsaker, yes.
Number 1 on this roster we've got here is Nolan Kuzi.
That is Riley Hunsaker, though, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the numbers must have changed. My bad. Hunsaker is out of Highland, California, University of Southern California. Hit .222 with the Trojans down there. He's got a 1-0 count, and he flies it foul down the left field line. Apologies for the confusion. We got 2 guys on here, and they're both number 1. So Hunsaker is, in fact, taking over out in center field. One on, 1 out. Bounced foul to the backstop. Harrahill doing a great job of getting junk contact here in these early pitches, I should say. Not giving up a ton of hard hit balls. He's walked a few guys, but that's what happens when you try to paint the edges of the zone. Any contact you get is going to be marginal. That's a ball.
Yeah, it's a thin line to play with, but Ryan Harrihill straddles it very well, and the sense of control is the biggest thing that you like about him. It never feels as though he's in trouble or about to give up a huge walk in back-to-back at-bats. And even if he gives up the occasional one, you still feel like he makes up for it.
Left that one outside, too. Another full count.
Hunsaker with a 143 average on the season, 1 RBI and 2 hits and 14 at-bats, so doesn't have quite as much experience as some of these other Anchorage bats. And that could be a big opportunity for Harrihill in this Mat-Su defense.
Runner goes. That's fouled to the backstop once more. 3-2 the count will remain.
We know the Bucs also are big when it comes to stolen bases. They've done that numerous times this year. So that's another thing for this Mat-Su defense to contend with. And remember, the Miners have cost themselves games with throwing errors. They have to be aware.
Baltz has already thrown a runner out in this game. That's down the foul line. Giving chase is Wilcox, but he just couldn't get to it. Tried to slide into the gravel, but nothing doing there.
We've talked about it before. This is a pitcher's ballpark, and that's great evidence of that. On a lot of other fields, there would have been no chance for a play, but Chase Wilcox and Kyle McCausland, both chasing after it, had an opportunity but just couldn't get to it in time. But that just shows that even if a ball is well into foul ground, you can still make a play and get a potential out. Changes the whole dichotomy of the game from that vantage point.
Another payoff from Harrihill. And he'll throw to first instead. Keeping the Anchorage Bucs honest, as you said. They're always a threat to steal. A lot of speed on this team.
It's another thing that makes them so dangerous as an offense. The execution on stolen base is incredible.
He'll go again, and that's lined into right field over the jumping glove of Don Patrizzi and down for a base hit. That'll allow Eisenstadt to go from first to third as he had a great jump from first base. There'll be runners on the corners here with one out.
Great work by Eisenstadt that time. Like you mentioned, he had a big jump from first, didn't hesitate, and was able to easily get into third. That could have been more dramatic if he had stalled just a little bit, but he went right for it. Beautiful job. And for Hunsaker, a nice single into the right field area, above the head of Don Patrizzi. Nothing he could do about it. Perfect shot into the gap, and the Bucs are cooking once again with one out.
First hit allowed by Harrihill. And here is Adam Enyart, a two-way threat for the Bucs. He pitched against the Miners earlier this season. He was a two-way threat in high school and college as well. So definitely knows what he's doing. It's a big lead at third base there by Tommy Eisenstadt. He's always a threat to run.
Yeah, I'm curious. Would he attempt to steal home if he felt the situation presented itself? That'd be a heck of a roller coaster if that did indeed take place.
Well, this is classic double steal territory here as they're going to try it. Baltz throws down to second. The throw is not in time, and the throw is not handled cleanly by Patrizzi at second base. Eisenstadt does not try to go home, but I was just thinking that might be exactly what Eisenstadt was looking for, a throw that wasn't necessarily in time. If he had decided to take off with how Patrizzi handled that ball, he definitely would have scored.
Absolutely would have. And like you mentioned, Eisenstadt deciding to stay on third base that time, a bit more conservative, but I do think there was an opportunity there if he went for it, decided not to.
2 balls and no strikes, and that's inside again. No, that's going to be a strike. Just got the back corner, 2-1. Umpire took a little time to give that call.
Now the pressure's on Harrihill to not give up any more hits in this situation because you have 2 runners in scoring position, so any big swing will score a run.
Did he go around? Yes, he did. 2-2.
Nice
Harrihill
outside
fighting back.
Yeah, nice outside pitch that time. You talked about it, Charlie. Painting the corners, that's what he did so perfectly right there. Leonardo da Vinci would be proud.
2-2. Grounded through the hole into right for a base hit. This will score 1 at least. Eisenstadt comes around. Here comes Hunsaker. The throw is not in time, and the Bucs waste little time getting out to a 2-0 lead in the second.
Yeah, it didn't take long that time. Able to score 2 runs on 1 single. And Adam Enyart, a guy who isn't known as much for his hitting prowess in the ABL, coming in today as a guy who usually works as a pitcher, now as a batter and delivering a beautiful 2 RBI single right through that right field gap. We've seen the Bucs use that time and time again in this game, and now a big lead already up 2-0 here in the top half of the second.
Well, we've seen the ABL's top batter. We've seen its third best batter. Now we have its second best batter, Brody Briggs, down in the 8 hole for the Anchorage Bucs. He is a .375 hitter, the designated hitter today.
He had a monster day yesterday as well. Went 4 for 4 with the Bucs against the Glacier Pilots. All part of that 13-2 run rule victory back at Mulcahy Stadium.
Yeah, for those who are unaware, there is a mercy rule in the ABL. If it's same as the NCAA, if a team has a 10-run lead after the 7th inning, the game will end, and that is what happened there. 1-0 in the zone. The Bucs and Glacier Pilots are at opposite ends of the ABL standings right now. Anchorage is the class of the league, while the Pilots are still trying to put
pitching, which is something that Matsu was a little bit lacking early on in the season. They've gotten so much better as time has gone on. So the Pilots, obviously the 3-time defending champions, a lot to work through. But the great thing about the ABL is that momentum and the tempo of the season can change on a dime. There'll be an opportunity for the Pilots. I doubt we've seen the last of them by any stretch.
Ball 1 comes into Christian Powell. Had a little stream hiccup there, but Brody Briggs flied out to center field. So there are 2 away. The runner did not advance. 1-0 count on Powell, the second baseman. 2 outs in the top of the second. And he fouls that one up and over the press box.
There's that glass sound effect.
I really hope the broadcast is picking that up. I can't imagine it is, but that really fooled me the first couple times I heard it.
Powell, a guy who struck out, and here we go.
Runner goes, and that's lined right at Kyle McCausland. He'll get it for out number 3. And that will retire the side, but the Anchorage Bucs get on the board first. A 2-0 advantage here at Herman Brothers. The Miners will try to answer coming right up. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Bottom of the second in Palmer, Alaska, under the beautiful cloudy sky. Great warm temperature here, and this press box, unlike the one down in Kenai, has some circulation, so we are not burning up. That field down in Kenai is great, for the record. The accommodations are all very excellent, but there just happened to be one very hot day down there that resulted in the camera overheating and us not being able to bring video to all of you, but luckily we are back at home here. Kyle McCausland ready to do what he did in Game 5, hopefully, that last win the Miners had, where he ripped a pair of doubles, had a pair of runs batted in as well.
Absolutely, a career game for him, had an RBI double, another double in that game, scored 3 runs, I believe.
Line that one down the left field line, over the fence but foul. McCausland out of Wellesley, Massachusetts, Middlebury College. Very accomplished hitter collegiately. The reigning NESCAC Player of the Year in 2023 when he hit over .430.
Middlebury record holder as well, true legend.
0-2, left it low and away.
Speaking on the Bucs pitching, they are 3.19 is their earned run average on the year, 79 strikeouts. They've given up 28 earned runs and 62 hits. Matsu, on the other hand, a little bit better from their token. They have a 2.97 ERA. So pitching right now favoring Matsu, although it's very, very close.
Appeal down to first is unsuccessful. McCausland holds up, so 2 balls and 2 strikes. Got Kellen Strohmeyer, Brandon Duran due up here in the bottom of the second with the Bucs out to a 2-0 lead. Here's the 2-2 from Rose. Fouled off. Today is a very special sponsor day. It is Napa Alaskan Auto Day. The first of those very important to us. They are the official sponsor of this YouTube broadcast, the internet broadcast of the Matsu Miners. If it wasn't for Napa, as that's hit into left center field, going back, turning around, and that nearly went over the fence. That went off the wall. The way the fielders were treating it, I thought that was just going to be a routine flyout. But Riley Hunsaker couldn't get to it in time. That's another double, the third in his last 2 games. Kyle McCausland, hot as a firecracker.
I don't know what Kyle McCausland has been drinking, but that juice is absolutely showing on the field right now as he gassed that one up into left center field right over the head of Hunsaker. I thought for a second it was out of here because he blistered that thing. One of the most well-hit balls we've seen at Herman Brothers Field this season, and that's the kind of explosive play style that Kyle McCausland has brought as of late, certainly becoming one of the most dangerous threats that Matsu possesses.
McCausland came into the day batting just 161 with 3 runs batted in. He had struggled to establish his feel at the plate during this season, but he has really gotten comfortable these last couple days. There's a discussion now between
I think they're going to get some new baseballs.
The Anchorage Bucs dugout. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. With Kellen Strohmeyer due up. Some people coming down from the Anchorage Bucs bullpen. And I think there's a fielding substitution here, actually. He's number 25 just came out of the dugout for the Bucs.
Let's see. That was Enyart who was in left field. So, yeah, already we're going to get a defensive substitution. Looks like it's Peyton Knowles.
Peyton Knowles. So that's already the second outfield defensive substitution we've seen. I wonder if Enyart might have pulled something going for that ball because he had to run a long distance and he had to hold up right at the edge of the wall. He is, of course, a pitcher first and foremost and not necessarily a fielder, so we hope he's all right. Peyton Knowles comes into the game for the Bucs, and Kellen Strohmeyer is at bat.
So now Matsu already with an opportunity to quickly close the deficit. Strohmeyer, a guy who certainly has the ability to go deep as well.
Taking one low for a ball. Kellen out of Iowa. Hitting 182. 1 run batted in. Has struck out 8 times, which is tied for the club lead.
Man out of Iowa. And a very good player with Iowa, as we're going to see. It looks like Lamb and the pitcher Rose have a conversation here. Bucs trying to get everything in order early on in this game. Obviously, you don't want Matsu to go on any kind of run. And talking about Strohmeyer, he broke his high school's record when it came to hits. Absolutely blistered several baseballs that season. Also had 3 home runs and 32 RBIs. A .427 average coming out of high school. First team All-State. And he has absolutely brought all that and more here in Matsu. And I think we still have even more to see from him. I think, much like McCausland, he has untapped depths that we will see more of as this season progresses.
It's a redshirt freshman with the Hawkeyes. Did not see playing time his freshman year. And he takes one inside. 2-0. Kyle McCausland at second base. As he has been so many times these last couple games. Here's Rose. Just got a piece of it.
You see how Rose was taking his time on that pitch attempt. He was really trying to make sure that he had Strohmeyer and himself dialed in. He did not want to give him anything easy. He's taking this much more cautiously, especially with McCausland at second base. Right now, the Bucs are doing whatever they can to preserve this lead, and it's reflecting in their pitcher.
2-1, cut and a miss for the Iowa Hawkeye, with Brandon Duran due up, who has some fans in the YouTube chat.
Great to have you watching in from Massachusetts here tonight.
Got one Massachusetts man in scoring position. Duran hopefully soon to join him. Right now, though, Strohmeyer's 2-2, and he swings and misses at that. Down on strikes, second K for Rose, one away.
Yeah, nice fastball by Rose that time, and I love what he did in the middle of that at-bat. He made some great adjustments, went back to that fastball late, and it fooled Kellen Strohmeyer, able to get a big out here early on in the bottom of the second, just trying to break the Mat-Su stride.
That will pull him into the club lead for strikeouts. And now here is Durand. And he looks at a pitch right down the middle.
Went for the breaking ball that time, a little bit upstairs. Lamb able to bring it in. What I like about the pitchers on both sides is that they're showing great control. We haven't seen a lot of passed balls or wild pitches. It's been very clean execution when it comes to pitching, and you love to see that defensively.
Hit high in the air to left. Peyton Knowles coming on, and he'll make the grab for out number 2. McCausland cannot advance.
Yeah, so Peyton Knowles comes in immediately and makes a big impact. Durand, I think he wanted a little bit more of that baseball, got enough of it off the end of his bat, but sometimes it's so hard, the thin line between a line drive and a fly ball that's just easy to catch. And he kind of got the bad end of that line that time. But Durand, one of the best power hitters on this team, we know that he can absolutely smoke a baseball. And he had a couple of pretty good games down on the peninsula as well.
Overall this season, Chase Wilcox is batting .190, 7 runs batted in. He'll take a first pitch strike. Zan Rose unafraid of these Miners hitters. Wilcox was tied with Kellen Strohmeyer for the club lead in strikeouts, and he can hopefully avoid retying him here.
Also had a season-high 2 hits and 5 ribbies versus the Oilers back on June 13th.
Lazy fly ball into left field. That's going to drop down. 3 guys converged on it, but none were able to make the catch, and Kyle McCausland comes in to score.
Wow, that was one of the funkiest singles you'll ever see. There were 3 guys, like you mentioned, all of them trying to make a catch, and they all just kind of ran into each other, and it somehow found a hole between all 3 of them. And what an odd RBI single, but a big one for Chase Wilcox.
The RBIs keep coming for Wilcox.
It looked to me that Callahan tried to slide into it and make a play, and it's almost like he maybe stopped for just a second. I wonder if Burns and Knowles being around kind of made him hesitate. But either way, that is absolutely massive for Mat-Su.
Ryan Richard, the 9-man, takes a first pitch strike out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He had a somewhat cold Kenai trip, but still hitting .282 with 2 runs batted in. He's tied for the club lead in hits, along with the man due up, Drake Kerr. He's got a man on first and 2 outs and a 1-1 count.
That's a big response by Mat-Su as well, because all of a sudden you cut the deficit in half and you show the Bucs, hey, we're not going to go away that easily. You can't just have one knockout punch early and expect that to be it. And for Mat-Su, that's what they need to see offensively, especially after struggling for a large portion of that Oilers series.
In the air to right, Kelly giving chase into foul territory, and that's going to drop about 3 feet away from his outstretched arm.
Ryan Richard has been a great revelation for Mat-Su since coming up here. And remember, he was a bit of a later addition to this roster. Originally, there were a couple of other guys who were going to come, but things didn't work out, and Ryan Richard ended up taking their spot. And he has been a great asset to this team. He already has 11 hits on the year, 2 RBIs, .282 average, and has had multiple sensational games.
1-2, runner goes, and that hit him. Got him right on the elbow, and no, they're going to say foul ball. Okay, he didn't look hurt. I feel like if I got hurt all right on the elbow, I would have jumped back instinctively. That got him right on the end of the bat. Similar to that weird foul ball we saw in Game 5 of the Kenai series.
Yeah, that looked like it got him, but it must have just barely got the handle of that bat is what I'd imagine. Either way, keeping this at-bat alive. And this could be huge for the Bucs in their hopes of limiting the damage for Matsu.
1-2 again. Runner stays put that time, and it's fouled back. Richard about to complete the first time through the order against Zan Rose, and so far he has allowed 3 hits and 1 run, along with a pair of strikeouts.
So far, these offenses are really playing solid baseball and doing a good job of reading these opposing pitchers. I'm no prediction guy, but I do think we're in for a special night offensively if this keeps up.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Don't need to be a prediction guy to come up with an assessment like that with these 2 teams and their offensive pedigrees. Rose. Wilcox at first, and he's running. That's in the dirt to the catcher Lamb, and he's not even going to try. Wilcox gets himself into scoring position.
Yeah, that was a pretty easy stolen base that time, and Lamb just bobbled it for too long, and by the time he tried to recollect it, Wilcox was basically already at second base, so no problem whatsoever for number 27, and now he's in scoring position, making this at-bat even more pivotal for Ryan Richard.
Payoff pitch. The righty fires home. Wilcox going for third, and that's high for ball throw. The throw comes in. Great stop by Ryan Callahan to prevent that from going into the outfield. He saved a run with that, but he did not end the inning as Richard aboard with Zan Rose's first walk, and there will once again be runners on the corners. This time, the Miners, the ones threatening with 2 down, and Drake Kerr coming up to the plate.
Awesome work by Ryan Richard to work through that at-bat and force the ball, and great discipline on the full count as always. He's, along with a lot of players on this Miners roster, very good at reading what's going to be a ball, what's going to be a strike, and now you've got runners in the corners with one of your most consistent hitters. This is a very troublesome spot for the Bucs.
Kerr grounded out to the pitcher on a bunt attempt. Runner goes, throwing down again, Lamb, and again he bobbles it. So the Miners might have found a weakness here. The second straight steal. Dylan, I have some breaking news to you straight from the YouTube chat. Tennessee are your 2024 College World Series champions. How does that make you feel?
Oh, goodness. Well, I'm not going to share my full thoughts on that, but I do want to say to all the Vols fans out there, congratulations on your World Series championship. Just don't talk about it too much.
The implication being that you are not part of that group. That's in the shallow right field, and the catch is made by Christian Powell, and Drake Kerr took a fall. He tripped. To the third inning we go at Herman Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska. Top of the third inning with the Anchorage Bucs out to an early 2-1 lead, but based on the offense we've seen, this will be far from the final score.
Yeah, it's been a very fun game so far, and a nice bounce back by Matsu in the bottom half of the second. One of the stranger RBI singles you'll ever see from Chase Wilcox, but a nice bloop shot, and we've got ourselves a game between these two, and you know Matsu, they are not going to go down fighting. They are showing a lot of heart early on. We are in for an action-packed third inning and beyond.
Top of the order due up for Anchorage. Zane Kelly, Andrew Lamb, Ryan Callahan against Ryan Harrahill, his second time through the order. He allowed a pair of hits, a strikeout, and a pair of runs, also a steal and a pair of walks. Just inside on Kelly, who flied out to center field to start the game.
We've already talked about Zane Kelly just a little bit, but it bears repeating just how dangerous this guy truly is. One of the biggest threats that Matsu will have to deal with. Right now, that's what you want him to do, is just fly out. As long as nothing goes over the wall, you feel pretty good when it comes to this guy. Las Vegas, Nevada native. He has 17 at-bats on the year, 5 hits, 5 RBIs, 294 average. And against Matsu, he was sensational in the first game.
1-0 in the zone. Right fielder out of Gonzaga. One of the ABL's premier power hitters. And he's down 2-2.
Harehill working pretty quick in this at-bat. You notice he's not taking as much time between pitches. Trying to take care of Kelly rather quickly.
And that's just high. Harehill and a lot of Miners fans objecting to that. But Kelly works the count full.
Yeah, it was pretty close to that top right corner. Here comes the payoff.
And that's in the dirt. That will be ball 4. The third walk of the game already for Ryan Harehill. And the second leadoff walk, which last time led to 2 runs coming around to score. Not the ideal way to start your third inning.
Yeah, again, it's like we've talked about. He continues to try to paint the outside corner. It is a very slim margin when it comes to that control, and pushed it a little bit to the inside. But that's his style of pitching, and with that style of pitching, you're naturally going to see more walks. 3, though, in the first 3 is obviously not ideal, and right now Matsu is hoping that he can limit that.
Curveball goes into a strike for Andrew Lamb, who drew a walk back in the second, but was caught stealing by Blake Baltz. Harehill out of the stretch now. Runner thought about going, and I think Harehill might have caught that because that almost looked like a pitch out for Baltz to try and throw down. It will be a ball, 1-1.
And we've seen just how quick Anchorage, and the Miners for that matter, are going to be when it comes to stolen bases tonight.
Runner goes. That's lined in right field, down for another base hit. Rounding second, stumbling briefly, but into third without a throw is Zane Kelly. He managed to stay on his feet, and once again, there will be runners on the corners for the Anchorage Bucs. Ryan Harehill finding himself in yet another jam.
Yeah, that was a perfect shot, and it's been basically the same area every time for the Bucs when it comes to their hits. It's that patch of grass in right field right above the head of Dom Patrizzi, and it looks like we're going to see potentially at least a mound conference. Not a lot of activity towards the Miners bullpen area, but definitely want to talk about this with Ryan Harehill.
Blake Baltz, pitching coach Steve Hecker, fan of the channel, coming out to talk with Harehill. With Ryan Callahan due up, who hit a fly out to the ID 7 in the field, left field is how a layman would call that. And looking at my scorecard, Harehill so far, that was the 4th hit he has surrendered, or excuse me, just the 3rd. He has also walked 3, struck out 1, and allowed a pair of hits. Also a few flyouts, so Bucs now starting to get some more quality contact, some more quality hits. And no activity yet in the bullpen, although I do see, I believe that is Hayden Hattenbach getting loose, maybe getting ready to pitch down there, but no pitches actively being thrown. Here's Harehill pitching to Callahan, and he leaves the first one outside.
We've seen Hattenbach quite a bit lately as well. Came in that Oilers series and pitched twice. Did a very good job in both appearances. So it'd be interesting to see him once again here at home for the first time.
Lined into right field. That's a shot falling down, and that'll be just foul. Wow.
Oh, thank goodness.
Dodged a bullet there. That would have scored both runs on base with ease, but it falls about a foot to the right of the foul line. That's the second time that's happened. I have to imagine how much bigger this lead would be if the exit velocity and launch angle were slightly different on those 2 hits.
Yeah, that was basically all the way in the right field corner, so if that had been a fair ball, it probably would have been a triple, and I think it would have easily scored both runs for the Bucs. So that was a big, big thing for the Miners that was able to just go foul. Sometimes you got to be lucky in this game.
1-1 misses high. Harehill just trying to hang in there, escape this inning with minimal damage.
Callahan already with 7 total hits on the year.
And he is hit by that pitch. So that will load the bases with nobody out.
Boy, and it just continues to get more and more hairy now for Ryan Harehill. Pitched that one a little bit low, a bit uncharacteristic. He usually likes to elevate his pitches, and that time he just, I think, maybe lost the handle a little bit or tried something else and just didn't get it to work. And Callahan making contact with it. And with Tommy Eisenstadt at the plate, this is going to be really tough, especially with no outs for Ryan Harehill.
Eisenstadt has scored a run in this game, also drawn a walk. And he was swinging for the fences on that one, came up empty. First pitch that Harehill has found the strike zone with in a minute.
These outfielders also need to be on big alert for wherever this baseball might end up going. You can tell Eisenstadt wants to go deep right now.
Just missing low is Harehill. Drake Kerr, Kyle McCausland, Kellen Strohmeyer, the outfielders for the Miners, all with arms to be wary of. Bases loaded, nobody out. Here's the 1-1. That misses again.
Harehill also approaching 60 pitches in this game already, so this Bucs lineup has really given him some work early on, and he might be getting close at least to that limit.
That's fouled into the dirt by Eisenstadt. A strikeout here would just be invaluable, or any kind of out that doesn't advance the runners, because it gets you into inning-ending double play territory.
And this infield defense also needs to watch for home plate, because we know the Bucs will have an opportunity to send one home, and Zane Kelly very opportunistic, so Miners will have to be ready for that.
2-2. In the dirt, stopped by Baltz, and nobody will score. That will bring the count full, but a great effort by the UCLA catcher.
Yeah, that's a good thing that he kept that in front of him. A little bit more, and I think Kelly would have had a significant opportunity. So good work by the backstop, and here comes a big payoff pitch.
Into center field. Drake Kerr getting under it, getting ready to throw, and he will. A charging throw. He's going to throw it to third, and that's fielded by Wilcox. So that was smart. You trade a run in order to keep the runners at first and second and keep the possibility of a double play alive. The Bucs do add one. They lead it, pack the game in a positive way, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I've had conversations with Drake, especially this past week down in Kenai, and he's a very high IQ baseball player. He sees the game in a certain way that just makes you marvel at what he's able to find, and that was a great example of that. A nice throw to third, knew exactly what the situation was. Situational awareness so huge.
Will Burns lays down a bunt. Here's Wilcox, and he can't field it cleanly, so that'll load the bases once again. That would have been a tough play even if he had fielded it, but no chance there. So bases loaded, 1 out once again. All that cerebral play is unfortunately for naught.
Yeah, that's going to be called as a hit as well. Just a perfect bunt by Will Burns, and Wilcox really just had no opportunity to even get it to third despite an attempt. That was just exactly what the Bucs needed in that situation. This is why this offense is so good. They are so good at execution, understanding the situation, and they get it done right here.
So Peyton Knowles is at the bat here instead of Riley Hunsaker. So there's been some more shuffling around in the lineup, it appears. Outfielders changing positions, so we'll keep you updated on that as we have it. Swing and a miss for strike one. That just misses for ball one. Harehill pitching to Knowles, who has his first at-bat of the game. One left at high. Yeah, well, we're not sure exactly what happened because Max Ross was in the original lineup. It was Riley Hunsaker the first time through. He scored a run, but now he has been subbed out once again. So I think some outfielders might have moved over. We'll get that for you as soon as the Bucs take the field. And that's a cut and a miss. So Harehill 1 strike away from his second K, and a big one that would be.
Absolutely would be. Right now for Matsu, they need this strikeout more than really anything else that they can get. 2 outs is a huge difference right now, especially with the bases loaded.
He struck him out. Fastball right down the middle. Knowles goes down, and a big second out for Harehill. Any out will do it here. And up to the plate now is Adam Enyart. Okay, so it was Hunsaker that was being subbed out in center. So glad we got that sorted. Noel's the new center fielder rather than left. And he hits that one into center field. Drake Kerr charging, and that's going to drop right into the shortstop's glove. Ryan Richard, some depth perception there. So a great Houdini act by Ryan Harrahill. Loads the bases with nobody out and allows just one run. Escapes the inning, but the 2-run cushion is back for the Bucs. They lead it 3-1, heading to the bottom of the third. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. We are ready for the bottom of the third. The Bucs tacked on one more in the top of this inning. Let's see if the Miners can respond in kind against Zan Rose on for his third inning of work. We've got Blake Baltz, Dom Patrizzi, Christian Perez. The three due up batters, 2, 3, and 4.
Blake Baltz already with a pretty impactful game. Threw out a runner at second base in the first inning of action. So he's already shown his ability defensively and shown a pretty nice ability offensively this season. Opportunities knocking here for him.
He takes strike one. Well, the Miners just had a bit of a letdown.
They did.
NHL Stanley Cup Finals ended. That's a rocket into right field. Down, no, just foul. Man, that looked like it was right on the line for me.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I thought for a second that was on the line, but of course, the first base umpire with a much better look at it than we have. That looked like it just touched the white. That's what you're looking for, but apparently there was enough green in between. But like you were saying, the Edmonton Oilers have fallen in the Stanley Cup Final by a score of 2-1 to the Florida Panthers, their first cup in franchise history. So congratulations to the Panthers, and that stinks for Edmonton.
Times I mentioned it before in NHL history, but never in the Stanley Cup, and that trend will continue. I'm not really a hockey fan myself, but I root for the Bruins when they're in the playoffs, and as a result, I'm a Florida Panthers hater. So this is a bad day for me. See if the Miners can raise my spirits a little bit. Baltz has an 0-2 count. A stoppage in play there as the umpires are getting new baseballs. We're back to the action here, ready to go. Zan Rose will offer. And he left it outside, 1-2.
Because of the trimesters that UCLA has, so Baltz wasn't able to join the team immediately, but he's made an immediate impact as soon as he's joined Mat-Su. Ever since he's gotten on this roster, he's been a big player.
Into center field, Knowles, the new center fielder, coming on, and he'll get it. Baltz cut down for the first time. Now we'll bring up Dom Patrizzi, who struck out swinging back in the first. The leading on-base percentage man on the Mat-Su Miners. Got to be a more eloquent way to put that. Best at getting on the base paths.
Best on base man. He's had some big games this season. He had a 4 RBI performance against the Glacier Pilots back on June 7th, and Matsu hoping he can replicate that not just tonight, but also tomorrow at Mulcahy Stadium in that big doubleheader. Action, by the way, starting at 4 o'clock tomorrow, and then bleeding its way into 6 o'clock for Game 2.
Those are 2 7-inning games. 3-0 count here on Patrizzi, who draws walks better than anybody on the minors.
Yeah, he's created a total of 9 this year for Matsu. He's got a chance at double digits right here if he can force a walk on Rose.
3-0. He's hit. The ball disappeared from view in those signs out there. I wasn't sure if that went over the fence at first, but it was fielded on a bounce off the wall by by Enyart.
Runs aren't usually line drives. They're more like big fly balls, and that one was absolutely crushed into left center field, and it just barely stayed within the yard. That wall did a good job of keeping the baseball inside, but Matsu's in business.
Perez taking ball 1.
That's what Matsu lacked in the series against the Peninsula Oilers, was game-changing plays and extra base hits, especially in those first 3 contests. They have found that as of late, and that is carrying over into today's game.
1-1. They didn't get an extra base hit until that Patrizzi home run in the 8th inning of Game 4. So prior to that, as you saw by the graphic we had in the pregame show, if you were watching that, was tough sledding.
And they already have 2 doubles here tonight, so that just shows the progression of this offense.
That was on a 3-0 count, too.
Yes.
Tom Patrizzi is not afraid. Here's a 1-1. Cut and miss. I really thought that was over the fence. I thought, based on the way the fielder was running, that was going to be the 2nd home run of the season for Patrizzi, and it was going to come on a 3-0 count. Something you just never see.
Like you mentioned, that shows that Dom Patrizzi, he is one word, fearless.
1-2 from Zan Rose. Looped foul. Back behind the left side bleachers by Perez. The Grand Canyon product, previously New Mexico State and future Sacramento State. Found a home in the transfer portal. We're all very happy for him. I'm sure the award we bestowed upon him was the final bargaining chip he brought to the plate. 1-2 in the dirt. Of course, he made the decision before we talked to him, but
Hey, it doesn't hurt his case one bit.
I'm sure the folks out in Sacramento were happy to see it.
Absolutely. I'm sure the Hornets fans are going to be glad to say they have an ABL Player of the Week in Christian Perez, a Miners Player of the Week, and he has certainly earned that with his ability.
2-2. Perez stays alive. He's a great guy to talk to. We've interviewed him a couple times. Live to everybody out there. So stay tuned for that after the final pitch is thrown. Anyway, here's a 2-2 from Rose. Into left field, right at the glove of Will Burns at short. Patrizzi will have to stay where he is, and that's a very unlucky second out.
Yeah, that's about as unlucky as it comes because you just sent it right to the shortstop. If that had been anywhere else on the field except right there, that probably would have been a base hit. It had the speed, had the velocity, but unfortunately it just had the aim of going right into the glove.
Kyle McCausland hit a double back in the second, would come around to score. Miners fans, of which there are many here in attendance today, would love to see him replicate that. Rose's first pitch finds the zone. It is probably approaching a sellout crowd here. Of course, the Miners have been out of town for a while, so the fans happy to see him back.
And these Miners, they feed off of the fans' energy. You can tell whenever they play here at Herman Brothers Field, there's an extra special pep in their step, and they're a bit more motivated to deliver a great performance. In baseball, a home crowd can be such a huge asset. I mean, just ask the Philadelphia Phillies about that. It can absolutely turn your team from a good team to a great team.
Miners with only one loss at home this season, although the Bucs, of course, were the ones who administered it. Here's a 1-1. Late swing by McCausland.
And, of course, the Bucs are about to head down to Kenai as well for their week-long series against the Oilers. That's going to be an interesting matchup. You got the DL, and we'll see if what happened to the Miners happens to the Bucs, if it's a similar result. either way, there's going to be some massive changes in the standings soon.
2-2, line to third base, fielded by Callahan. Over to first in time for out number 3. So the double by Patrizzi in vain. The Miners strand another man in scoring position, and they have 1 run to show for their first 3 innings of play. Dylan Simmons will take you through the middle part of this game. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube.
Welcome back to Monday Night Baseball here at Herman Brothers Field. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. The Mat-Su Miners down 3-1 to the Anchorage Bucs after 3 innings of play. It's the top half of the 4th. There's a new man on the mound. You could say he's a perfect 10. It's Eddie Mendoza, Charlie.
Mendoza, number 10, a 6-foot-tall right-hander, 210 pounds, out of Eagle Pass, Texas, Incarnate Word. Had just 1 2/3 innings pitched with the Cardinals his redshirt sophomore season and a 27.00 ERA. Had 2 of those innings, actually that should say 1 inning against Villanova back on February the 17th after serving a redshirt year at Texas State. So far this season, this is his 2nd appearance in the green and gold, and in his first time on the bump, which was also at home. Actually, this is his 3rd appearance. He made an appearance versus Chugiak on opening day as well. He's had a pair of 1-inning contests, has not allowed a base runner so far this season. So after Ryan Harrahill gave up a number of base runners in the first few innings, he is hopefully going to be a steadier presence on the mound.
All right, the top offense in the ABL goes back to work with Brody Briggs. The freshman out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, plays for Arizona State. And the Sun Devil looking to make quick work of Eddie Mendoza. Here is a bouncing ball into right field for a base hit. It got right past Don Patrizzi, and that's going to be a leadoff single for the Bucs.
Brody Briggs doing what Brody Briggs does, the 2nd-best hitter in the ABL. Gets that average up another tick, and Mendoza wastes no time allowing the 5th hit of the game for Anchorage.
Yeah, hit number 5 already for the Bucs, and Patrizzi trying to make a play on it, couldn't get to the baseball in time. That'll send on Christian Powell, number 15. Powell working as the 2nd baseman today. Here's a throwback to first, and just able to get back in time is Brody Briggs. That pitch went outside, I believe, and the count's going to go to 1-0.
That was a very close play. Blake Bouts has already picked off 2 men this season, and he's come very close a number of times, including right there.
So 1-0 count for Powell out of Ottawa, Arizona, as that is a bunt popped straight up in the air. It's going to land in foul ground, and Mat-Su was quickly chasing after it, but there was just no opportunity, and Powell kind of got in the way. Not his fault, obviously. He was just backing off, and Wilcox came racing in. Count's going to go to 1-1.
Yeah, that's tough because Bouts is the only guy who can make a play on that, but you have no idea which direction it went, so you just got to pick a direction and run, and he didn't even get that far because he got tripped up by the bat of Christian Powell.
Sometimes that's the way it goes. 1-1 count. Runners going to second. Here's the throw from Baltz, and he got him in time. What a throw from Blake Baltz, his second man thrown out of the day.
And the first time was close. That time was not. Briggs got a good jump, but Baltz with just a cannon for a right arm. And Briggs never had a chance. One away.
My goodness, what a job by Blake Baltz showing off that cannon for an arm. And now a 2-1 count will quickly become a 2-2 count. Eddie Mendoza with strike number 2 issued. A nice looking strike and an opportunity all of a sudden at out number 2 just like that. Here comes Mendoza. Here's the pitch inside. Boy, that was right over the head of Powell, who actually had to duck out of the way, and the count runs full. So now a 3-2 count. Big pitch for Mendoza and Powell. The 9-hole hitter lets it go by, and it's a strike. Strikeout for Eddie Mendoza. That is 2 quickly away now here in the top of the 4th.
Just got the outside corner of the zone. Ryan Hairhill's probably looking at that being like, why wasn't I getting any of those calls? I was closer to the zone than that, but Mendoza continuing his legacy this time gets the second strike. Just a second K that the Bucs have suffered in this game, but quick 2 outs here.
Beautiful outside pitch. We go back to the top of the order, and that means Zane Kelly. This is the 3rd time through for the Bucs. That pitch outside for ball 1.
Kelly has flied out and walked, came around to score back in the 3rd.
Mendoza using both the breaking ball and the fastball. Here is a fastball, and it's just outside for ball 2. Mat-Su Miners standing at 5-5 in the ABL standings. They can get within a half game of the Peninsula Oilers with a win tonight for second in the standings, and also take a game off of the Bucs, decrease their lead over them. There's a fastball, there's a strike. Count goes to 2-1.
Kelly is not afraid to let it rip. If he sees a pitch in the zone, he's going to chase it.
That he absolutely will. One of the more aggressive batters that the Bucs possess. Mendoza knows that. This is a chopper right side. Taken up by Patrizzi. Underhand toss to first. A 4-3 putout, and that will do it for the top half of the 4th inning. So the Miners defense comes up big again, and Blake Baltz with an impressive throw out to second to take care of Brody Briggs. Score still 3-1. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Hotel California blaring out over the speakers here in Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening. It is 3-1, the Anchorage Bucs on top. Mat-Su Miners about to go back to work here in the bottom half of the 4th. Kellen Strohmeyer to lead off.
Strohmeyer struck out swinging back in the 2nd inning after Kyle McCausland hit that double.
As this pitch comes in, it's in for a strike. Looking strike on Strohmeyer. The count goes to 0-1 for the Iowa Hawkeye. Mat-Su Miners is a team with a 198 average on the season, 53 runs scored. have one homer and 40 RBI. Strohmeyer lays one down. Right back to the pitcher. There's a throw off balance, and oh my gracious, what a throw by Zan Rose. Every rose has its thorns, and that was an incredible out.
There's a wacky kind of swinging bunt off of the bat of Strohmeyer. He kind of thought better of swinging halfway through, but it was too late. He had to back out, and he wasn't ready to run. And he saw it was in play, got a bad jump, and was not able to leg it out.
Well, it was certainly an odd throw by Zan Rose, but he'll take it. Now comes Brandon Duran, the man out of Bryant University. We understand some of the Durans are in the chat tonight. Glad to have you along as that pitch goes outside for ball number 1. Out on the East Coast, it's about, I'd say, 11:30 now? Pretty close to it.
They saw him fly out to left field back in the second inning, hoping he can do something more explosive here as he takes a strike.
There's a looking strike delivered by Rose. Right now, Matsu with 4 total hits in the game, but just 1 run to show for it. The Bucs with 3. But still a lot of baseball left to be played, and Matsu has been known to come back from deficits before, as that's another nice strike, and the count goes to 1-2. Breaking ball that time on Durand, who has proven his worth time and time again for the Miners. Now trying to prove it right here. 1-2, let it go by, and that was a smart decision, well outside. Good work by Lamb to keep it in front of him.
Started talking about it a bit before, but today is Napa Day at the ballpark, Herman Brothers Field. They are the sponsors not only of the team, but specifically of this broadcast. If it was not for them, you might not be watching this game at all, or...
As this is a high fly ball deep towards right field. Camping under it is Kelly, and he'll make the catch. 2 away.
Good defensive play there by Zane Kelly. As I was saying, if you were watching this game, you would almost certainly not be hearing us. You'd be hearing somebody else or maybe even no one at all. So we owe them a great deal for being able to come out here and live out here and bring these games to you. So they do great work out here.
Nothing but gratitude to Napa Auto Parts, Napa Know-How. Go check them out, obviously, for all your auto parts needs. Chase Wilcox now at the plate, swings and misses, and the count goes to 0-1. By the way, they've got a nice setup. The local folks from the Alaska Raceway Park here in Palmer have brought a few hot rods to the ball game tonight. There's a drag car. There's a funny car. There's a lot of cool stuff over there. Wilcox lets it go by. Matsu hoping to get off to a drag race start here in the bottom of the 4th with their offense, but count now 1-1 with 2 outs.
They also got to meet a bit of a celebrity, a young racing prodigy, we'll call him.
Yes.
And his souped-up car that he races on the weekends down in Anchorage.
As that is a inside strike. Nice breaking ball by Zan Rose, and the count goes to 1-2.
I don't remember his name.
Isaiah Johnson.
Isaiah Johnson. I remember it was Isaiah something.
And his car might be familiar to those Disney Pixar fans out there. It's a Lightning McQueen inspired model. 1-2 count. Wilcox will foul it off the end of his bat. Count goes to, or rather stays at 1-2. There may be a small shower over near Pioneer Peak right now. I'm looking out at it, and some of the clouds a bit darker over there.
You can see it on the camera. The mountains are, God, this is kind of how the weather works out here. There are these isolated showers that come and go. You can see it's sunny on the field right now, but probably just a few miles away, the rain is coming down. The valley, the mountains do some weird things here.
That they absolutely do, and you never know when or if a shower is going to pop up. Here in Alaska, the weather is very, very quick to change. 1-2 count to Wilcox, and this is going to be fouled off once again towards left. Count's going to stay at 1-2. Wilcox doing a good job of keeping this at-bat alive and making contact here.
Wilcox singled off of Rose back in the second. Stole second base after that. Got all the way down to third, but was ultimately stranded there.
1-2 count, trying to keep the 4th inning alive. Pitch by Rose, and that's a fastball for a strikeout. Caught looking is Chase Wilcox, and the Miners are quickly down in the bottom half of the 4th. Score still 3-1. We'll be back for the top half of the 5th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball, and it's all on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. This is Monday Night Baseball here at Herman Brothers Field.
So far, it would be nice to be ahead, but they'll take what they can get.
And there's still a long way to go in this one between these two teams. A lot of things left unsettled, and I'm sure Eddie Mendoza, among many others, understands that as he fires in a fastball high for ball 2.
Andrew Lamb had a single back in the third that led to a run. Has also walked, been caught stealing.
And you talked about it, the Bucs coming off that run rule win yesterday against the Glacier Pilots. So to keep the game where it is a bit of a small victory for Matsu, but all of a sudden the count is 3-0 for Mendoza, who has given up a few walks this season. So he is trying to avoid that fate right here. Lamb facing a 3-0. Let's see if Mendoza can overcome it. He cannot. Pitch is well inside. That's ball 4. And a leadoff walk issued by Eddie Mendoza. Andrew Lamb on to first.
That's the third straight inning the Miners have started with a leadoff walk. The last two, the man that got walked came around to score.
So Lamb now at first base after that leadoff walk by Mendoza. And that should be the 4th walk of the game issued by Matsu. There were 3 given up by Ryan Harrahill in his 3 innings of work. Now Callahan at the plate, runner on first base. And of course the pitching was a strength for Matsu down in Kenai, but here they are having issues with giving up free passes early in the going, and those kinds of mistakes are what the Bucs feast on. Count's going to go to 1-0. That's 5 straight balls issued by Eddie Mendoza. Throw back to first by Baltz, unable to get Andrew Lamb, but a heck of an effort nonetheless. That's ball 2 as well.
If he had thrown to the left of the bag, you would have had him there. Lamb had a very large lead, and Baltz, you have seen already enough evidence to say he has an absolute cannon behind the plate. Definitely the best thrower of the 3 catchers on the staff.
2-0 count, pitched by Mendoza. This one is grounded into right field for a base hit. So this is going to be at least a single, and now going all the way on to third is Lamb. Single for Ryan Callahan, runners in the corners for the Bucs.
This is the exact same way that the Miners, or the Bucs rather, have started each of the last 3 innings. Walk, single, person on first goes first to third. And of course, the last 2 times have led to runs. So not the best harbinger. Tommy Eisenstadt has a walk, a run, also a fly out.
Hit number 6 now for the Bucs in this game. 10 combined between the 2 teams, and we're just now in the 5th inning. But the score is only 3-1 between these two, as Tommy Eisenstadt at the plate, best batting average in the league, and he's got an opportunity to at least send 1 run home here with a good shot. This pitch outside for ball number 1, and Eddie Mendoza's struggles here in the top of the 5th continue.
He looked sharp early, but as with Harrahill, he's trying to dot those corners in the strike zone, as it so often is in the ABL. We've observed very small.
This time he does find it with a fastball, a little bit towards the outside, but able to paint the corner, count going to 1-1. Just able to keep it in as the count evens for Eisenstadt. Miners trying to win their 2nd game in a row and improve to 4-1 at home. That loss to the Bucs was the only home loss that Matsu has suffered here in 2024. Otherwise, it's been perfect. A win against the Glacier Pilots and 2 wins against the Peninsula Oilers. 2-1 count here for Eisenstadt. This goes outside for ball number 3, and once again, Eddie Mendoza in danger of walking a man, and this time it would load the bases.
Yeah, the bases loaded, nobody out in the last inning, and only got 1 out of it, but it's not a sustainable strategy, especially with your offense not quite on it.
Yeah,
so
Harrahill was able to negotiate it. Now we'll have to see if Eddie Mendoza can do the same. He issues a 5-pitch walk to Tommy Eisenstadt, and the bases are now loaded for the Bucs.
That's the 2nd walk that Eisenstadt has drawn. Like I said before, I mean, I get it. He's a terrifying hitter to pitch to, but in a situation like this, not exactly something you can afford. Blake Baltz and Tommy Heck are going to come out and talk with Mendoza. He's allowed 2 hits, 2 walks, has struck a man out. Had a pretty clean inning back in the 4th, allowed a leadoff single, but Brody Briggs, the man who hit it, was later cut down.
Action in the bullpen for Matsu. We will try to see who that is in just a moment. Looks as though that might be a number 30-something.
That is number 38, Nico Tomasello, getting loose.
Okay, so Nico Tomasello could make his way out soon enough for Matsu. It's not going to be yet, though, as Mendoza's going to stay out there with the bases juiced. With Will Burns coming up to the plate, who was a really big problem for Matsu in the first time these two teams played, as he has been at Texas Tech for his opportunities as well. In 2023, he made 20 starts and had 29 games played, a 169 average and 7 RBIs. And he started as the shortstop in all the games of the Gainesville Regional, which the Red Raiders made. This pitch outside by Mendoza, the count going to 1-0.
Today, Burns has singled and struck out swinging. Had an RBI back in the third, driving Zane Kelly home.
Mendoza will hit one off of the back of Will Burns, and that's going to score a run for the Bucs. All of a sudden, it is a 4-1 baseball game, and the Anchorage Bucs capitalizing on mistakes by Eddie Mendoza.
Well, there's another run batted in for Burns. Feels kind of weird to call it a run batted in, but that is how it will go into the stat sheet. And now Tyler Brunn can wait no longer. The head coach for the Miners is going to come and pull Eddie Mendoza from this game. After 3 innings, he allowed 2 hits, 1 run, a pair of walks, and a hit by pitch, just 1 strikeout. Nico Tomasello coming on in relief.
Yeah, came in initially in the 4th inning, and now we'll see his day come to an end. So we are about to see the 3rd pitcher of the game for Matsu, Nico Tomasello, the man out of San Diego State, a freshman for the Miners, 6'5", 215 pounds. He had 2 appearances this past year against New Mexico and UC San Diego. Went to Granite Hills High School, a multi-sport athlete. Baseball, football, and basketball were some of his best. And so far this season, 2 1/3 innings pitched against the Bucs. The last time these two teams played, he gave up 6 walks, 2 earned runs, and had 3 strikeouts. So it was definitely an up-and-down appearance. In total this season, 4 strikeouts and a 4.50 ERA.
Overall this season, 4 innings pitched. Has only allowed 1 hit. As you said, those walks were very costly. Has also allowed 2 unearned runs, 4 runs in total. So he's been the victim of some bad luck, but he's hoping, especially with Harrahill and Mendoza struggling with command, they combined for 5 walks in the 4 innings before him, that he can be a little more sharp, putting his pitches where they need to go. With Peyton Knowles, Adam Enyart, and Brody Briggs due up. Bases juiced, 1 run already in. The Miners want to keep this game from spiraling out of control.
Yeah, it is definitely on the verge of having that potentially happen, and Nico Tomasello is certainly going to have to be dialed in here with no outs and the bases loaded. He is going to have to find the strike zone and in a hurry. No real time to get your bearings about you. You just got to come in and take care of this situation as quickly as possible and make sure that the game is still within reach for Matsu. He will first contend with Peyton Knowles, the number 6 man in the order, who will make his way to the plate. Then Adam Enyart and Brody Briggs will be soon to follow.
Knowles was the 2nd strikeout victim of Ryan Harrahill back in the 3rd inning with the bases loaded and 1 out. Harrahill got him to swing and miss for a huge out number 2.
So Knowles makes his way to the plate. We haven't talked about it yet, but these two teams also met in the MLB Showcase back at Mulcahy in that Friday game at 6 o'clock. The Bucs won that one as well by a score of, funnily enough, 4-1, as that is going to be ball number 1. Count going to 1-0 on Knowles.
It looked like he went around to me, and the crowd agreed.
Yeah, there was a discussion between the home plate umpire and the umpire out in the infield. This pitch goes by, and the count goes to 2-0. Low pitch by Tomasello.
Really close. Small zone continues to confuse these Miners pitchers.
He'll try it again, and it's ball 3. Put it outside.
There's a large contingent of people cheering, Anchorage Bucs fans that have made the trip an hour drive up the highway into the valley, and they're thrilled at what's transpiring.
So this is a very troublesome spot for Tomasello. He just does find the zone this time. Able to get a looking strike on Knowles, but make no mistake about it, it is very thin ice for him. Infield has to be ready as well. Here's a bouncing ball just like we were talking about, and it's going to be fouled. How about that decision? Christian Perez just let it go by, and that was one of the smartest things he could have done.
Definitely smart. It was wondering if that might roll further into the field of play. They might be able to get a force out at home, but Perez recognized it, said, if I field this, a run is going to score. Trading a run for an out at this stage of the game is not something the Miners can afford to do, so he will take his chances with Tomasello against Knowles.
Very high IQ baseball play, but it's not going to matter. It's ball number 4. So an RBI for Peyton Knowles on a base on balls, and the score is now 5-1 Bucs here at Herman Brothers Field.
The pitching had just been so great down in Peninsula when the offense stalled out. Now the offense comes back to life, and it's the pitching that's struggling. 2 free passes with the bases loaded here in the top of the 5th. This game's starting to slip away.
Ryan Callahan, the man who scored from home, or rather from third. Here's a swing and a miss for Enyart, and the count's going to go to 0-1.
Enyart had a 2-run single back in the 2nd inning, has also struck out to end the 3rd.
Tomasello hoping he can find the zone in a hurry, and instead he's almost going to find a hit by pitch. The count's going to go to 1-1. Boy, that was very, very close. I thought for a second that Enyart was grabbing at his left leg, thinking that it hit him, but obviously that is not the case.
I don't know how that didn't hit him. It went behind him.
Pitch from Tomasello. This is just fouled off, and the count's going to go to 1-2. So there is an opportunity at a strikeout for the San Diego State Aztec, but easier said than done here.
Second straight 2-strike count that Tomasello has had. Can he capitalize here?
As he fires this one inside, and the count is going to even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Enyart doing everything he can to keep his team in position to add to their 4-run lead. Sophomore out of Bakersfield, California, and St. Mary's sends a high fly ball to left center field. Kerr chasing after it. He makes the catch. Runner tags from third and comes home. Here's the throw to third base. Not going to make it in time. It's going to be a sac fly for Enyart, and the score goes to 6-1.
And that was about as good an outcome as the Miners could have reasonably hoped for a ball that went that far and left to third base and possibly had a play there, but chose to just take the out where he could get it and not allow any more nonsense runs to score. It's a 5-run hole in the 5th.
So Tommy Eisenstadt comes home. 3 runs scored now by the Bucs here in the top of the 5th. There's a throwback to first. Unable to do anything with Peyton Knowles. This is Brody Briggs at the plate once again, as the Bucs are definitely feasting on the Miners right now. This pitch is low in the dirt, and the count is going to go to, actually, it might be a balk. It is. It's a balk by Nico Tomasello, and another run's going to score for the Bucs. Now it is 7-1.
So the umpire likes to call balks, staying at second. Excuse me, so Knowles was on first, so he moves to second now, and Will Burns comes home. It is now 7-1. Just got to escape the inning now.
As the count will now be 1-0 here for Brody Briggs. Things are coming apart for Matsu. The wheels are somewhat off the bus now. And the Anchorage Bucs are in firm control, up 6 runs. Now Knowles at second base after the balk, and this pitch is high and outside for ball 2.
What is unfortunate there is that run was actually Eddie Mendoza. No, it wasn't. That was the first run that Tomasello has charged because Will Burns was hit by a pitch when he first came in. But the 3 runs that have scored prior to that were all Mendoza's.
This is a chopper right side, right to Perez. He will make his way to the bag, and that's 2 away. Advancing to third is Peyton Knowles. Bucs still up 7-1, but a little bit closer to the end of the top of the 5th for Matsu.
Christian Powell's 0 for 2, a line out and a strikeout.
Second baseman number 50, Christian Powell.
6-run hole for the Miners. Will be a tall task indeed, but nothing their bats can't handle as long as their pitchers can keep them in it.
So Christian Powell at the plate. Matsu Miners trying to do anything they can to end this inning. And you got to give credit to Tomasello. For what it's worth, he's done a pretty solid job after what he was given. Bases loaded. Obviously, the balk not ideal, and issuing a run scored on a walk. But Also could say it could have been worse, as that's a strike and the count's going to even at 1-1.
Every base runner he inherited did come in to score, though, so I'm going to have to disagree with you. He was put in the game to try and salvage that, and unfortunately he did not.
That ball popped up. It is going to be fouled, and nobody's going to make a play on it. And Tomasello will get it back. Count's going to go to 1-2, and I might have been fooled just by the way it was done. It wasn't very dramatic. It was a very simple way to put runs on the scoreboard. Tomasello not really giving up the big hit, but he certainly has given up his fair share. So I'll take the L on that one.
He has not given up a hit. This inning has been walk, single, walk, hit by pitch, walk, balk.
As this one's going to be lined towards short, picked up by Richard, throw to first, and that's going to be a 6-3 putout. But a tough inning for the Mat-Su Miners. The Anchorage Bucs bite back. 4 runs in the top of the 5th. They are in firm control, up by 6. We'll be back for the bottom half of the 5th. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. It is a 7-1 baseball game here on a Monday night. The first Monday night game of the year here at Herman Brothers Ballpark. Mat-Su down by 6 to the Bucs, who took control in the top of the 5th after the Miners gave up 4 combined runs. Eddie Mendoza and Nico Tomasello combining for a bit of a rough inning. And now the Bucs with an opportunity to help slam the door. Mat-Su trying to creak it back open, and Ryan Richard will do what he can to get things going for Mat-Su.
It'll be Richard, Kerr, and Baltz. Or Baltz, pardon me. Matters 9, 1, and 2.
Number 2, Ryan Richard.
Richard made a nice play to end that inning on a weird bounce off the mound for that 6-3 putout.
Junior from Lafayette, Louisiana, hoping to play for the Ragin' Cajuns soon enough out of Baton Rouge Community College. We'll let this fastball go by. It's a looking strike, and the count goes to 0-1.
Zan Rose has been the opposite of the Miners pitchers. He has not been afraid to power in some strikes, has not struggled with finding the zone, and
Richard will foul one off. It was a very odd-looking hit off of the bat, and it almost acted like a chopper for a second. The count's going to go to 0-2 as he just caught some of it.
Gets a little lucky break there that didn't roll fair, because he would have been dead to rights.
That he would have. Man with 11 hits on the year, 2 ribbies. He has struck out 4 times coming into today. Facing the 0-2, and he's going to swing and miss at this one. That is going to be another strikeout for Rose, and Mat-Su is already down 1 man here in the bottom half of the 5th.
That's the second straight K dating back to last inning for Rose. He's got 4 overall. And since that Don Patrizzi double in the 3rd, he has set down 6 straight Miners.
So Drake Kerr now at the plate for Mat-Su, who we know is very capable of delivering some highlight reel plays and the best bunter on the team. Right now, Mat-Su needs something offensively. He's going to show bunt a strike.
I don't really understand that. I know you're looking for a spark, but gotta hit the ball a fair distance, in my opinion, against this team. They're not just going to hand you free runs.
He's going to pop this one up into right center field, chasing after it.
Number 5, Blake Baltz.
So Blake Baltz comes on for Mat-Su, and very quickly this Mat-Su offense is just not able to find much here in the bottom half of the 5th inning to start things off. Baltz hoping to change that. the Miners could get another explosive play, it would certainly help their case. They do have 2 doubles, but another issue tonight, they've left a lot of runners on base, which was a huge detriment to them in the series against the Oilers, as that pitch is low for ball number 1. You could argue it cost them at least a couple of games in that series. The other big issue, of course, was the infield defense, which committed several errors, and that's what cost this team their first game against the Bucs. They committed 2 costly ones. Kerr lets it go by, and that's a strike. Count goes to 1-1.
No one has committed an error yet in this game. Baltz just kind of shook his head there. The Bucs pitchers have been getting that call right on the corner of the zone. The Miners pitchers have not.
It's been that kind of day pitching-wise. This is going to be a comeback right to Rose, underhand toss to first, and that's going to be another easy out, a 1-2-3 inning for the Anchorage Bucs defense. The men in black and gold are absolutely taking care of business tonight, and they are making Mat-Su walk the plank in the early going. Top half of the 6th on the way when we come back. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. We are live in the Mat-Su Valley. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows joining you this evening. It's been a tough outing for the Mat-Su Miners here at home in their first home game in nearly 2 weeks. The Bucs are on top in a big way, 7-1 over their opponent. Mat-Su doing everything they can to get back in it, but Zane Kelly is going to try to make sure that doesn't happen as he lines one out into center field. And just as we come back, Zane Kelly already with a leadoff single.
That's the first hit of the game for him. Overall, it is the 7th to match the 7 runs for the Bucs. Another single, no extra base hits for Anchorage. They've just been picking the Miners apart, death by 1,000 cuts, and also death by the Miners' own hands, as they have issued a total of 5 walks, 2 hit by pitches, and just 3 strikeouts.
Swing and a miss by Andrew Lamb, and it's been a tough outing for Mat-Su. The biggest issue has been the pitching, which was so superb down in Kenai. Here against the Bucs, it has been their biggest Achilles heel. We talked about it a lot, but down in Kenai, a lot of what hurt Mat-Su is that they couldn't get all 3 aspects of the game to go their way, pitching, fielding, and batting. There'd always be something that was amiss. And the unfortunate thing is that as of late, it's been unpredictable as to which one's going to be the one that falters, if any of them do. And there really weren't a whole lot of issues back on Saturday, but it was kind of a guess as to what was going to happen in the series against the Oilers, as that's grounded right to first base. There's 1 out, chance for double play. Throw back to first, and they got it. Nice double play by Mat-Su, and heads up stuff from Christian Perez, and that is 2 away here in the top half of the 6th.
The 3-6-3 double play, one of the hardest to turn because the first baseman has to field it and then throw and have the presence of mind to not absent-mindedly step on the bag and delete the force out at second. Perez does that beautifully. Twin killing. Some defensive momentum for Mat-Su.
So Ryan Callahan steps up to the plate for the Bucs rather. Count's going to go to 0-1 as he swings and misses at this one. Gotten so used to saying Oilers that anytime someone steps up to the plate, that's the instant reaction. Tomasello working quick here, and he fires in one outside, and the count goes to 1-1.
Callahan has flied out, been hit by a pitch and singled. was part of the procession that came in to score an inning ago.
This is lined right to Christian Perez, who catches it on a knee. A nifty find from Christian Perez, and that will do it for the top half of the 6th inning. A much-needed defensive masterclass for Mat-Su here in this frame, and they'll try to take a bite out of this deficit when we come back in the bottom half of the 6th. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. It is a 7-1 baseball game. The Anchorage Bucs have torpedoed the Mat-Su Miners, both offensively and defensively. Mat-Su is trying to do everything they can to come back in this game, but if the comeback is going to happen, it needs to start soon. And Don Patrizzi, the number 3 man in the order, understanding that better than anybody. Zan Rose still on the bump, firing in a fastball, and that's going to be a strike. Count goes to 0-1.
Rose has been absolutely fantastic. He surrendered 4 hits, most of them in the early goings, has struck out 4, issued just 1 walk, and of course just the 1 hit. 2 of those hits are doubles, so when they are able to get contact, it is very strong, but that event is just so rare, and Patrizzi already floundering.
Yeah, already the count going to 0-2 as he has swung and missed at that last one. And now in danger of a 3-pitch strikeout right here. The 0-2. Patrizzi lets it go by. That was a good decision. Breaking ball is outside for ball 1.
Patrizzi has one of those hits, one of those doubles, back in the 3rd. Struck out in the 1st inning.
Mat-Su would love for him to do that again. Had that near home run earlier. And here's a high fly ball to left center field. It's going to send a couple of men back, but the catch will be made by Enyard out in left, and that will be out number 1.
One of those high arcing flyouts that off the bat you think it might have a chance, but you see how the outfielder behaves and chases it, and you realize that it will not. Good piece of hitting, but nothing to show for it.
Enyard and Knowles were quick to take a look at that one. It certainly had a lot of distance, but just not enough. As we see Christian Perez at the plate, who had a pretty good inning defensively in the top half of this frame. He was the guy who started off that double play and then had the last inning, or last out rather, with that beautiful line-out catch. Count's going to 0-1 here. And he's going to foul this one off the end of the bat, 0-2 on a low pitch from Rose.
Rose, since that 3rd inning double to Patrizzi, has not allowed a base runner. He is trying to set down his 10th man in a row. And Perez is 0-2 in this game.
Here we go, 0-2, and that is upstairs, just barely for ball 1. Perez doing a good job of letting it go by above the zone. Man out of Grand Canyon, Sunny Slope High School. Ty LeBron's current coaching place. Does a good job as an assistant coach over there in his 7th season now with the Miners. Trying to lead them to their first championship in 6 years, as that's going to go outside, and the count will be 2-2.
Good plate discipline from Perez.
I dare say that this Bucs team is the best one they've had, at least so far, since 2019. They have been so good in all respects, and they just do not fold under pressure as this ball is popped up in the infield. Third baseman wants it, and the catch is made. 2 away.
Thick layer of clouds is starting to set over the field, which gives the illusion of night beginning to fall. It's actually getting kind of dark in this press box, but of course, night is still about 5 hours away.
Yeah, only day games in the ABL, well, at least for the most part, unless something has gone completely off the rails. Kyle McCausland at the plate. So far, 2 more have been sat down for Mat-Su, and after that great defensive inning in the top of the 6th, they have just not had a lot so far here in this frame. As McCausland lets it go by for another looking strike. Another nice breaking ball by Zan Rose, who just continues to not relent.
Kyle McCausland had that other double. That was back in the 2nd inning. He has scored the only Miners run.
0-1. McCausland will foul this one off. It was a good thing that one didn't go fair. It would have been an easy ground out for the Bucs, but instead the count's going to go to 0-2.
Another late swing by McCausland. He had a few in that last at-bat back in the 3rd when he grounded out, trying to prevent this from being the 3rd consecutive 1-2-3 inning for the Bucs.
Pitch from Rose. This ball is fouled off, screaming towards right field, but it's not going to be fair by any stretch. Count stays at 0-2.
Gotta say, this is easily the most dominant pitching performance we have seen all season against the Miners, and that's saying a lot because the Oilers had a few gems in their own right, but at least from a starting pitcher.
As this is a high fly ball deep to left, it is going to be a foul ball, and boy, a big attempt over there by Adam Enyart, who slipped and fell in the bullpen area. Glad to see he's up and walking because that looked extra painful.
Yeah, that could have been super dangerous because there are a lot of guys sitting there, a lot of bags and stuff. There's a bench right there. There's a lot of things that he could have gone sliding into at full speed and really hurt himself. But it looks like he's okay. Of course, with all the outfield substitutions we've seen already for the Bucs in this game, not something they can afford to see.
Absolutely not. Count staying at 0-2. McCausland, if nothing else, keeping his at-bat alive. Trying to get something generated. And he just got a little bit of that baseball. I thought for a second we were about to see another strikeout, but he caught about the smallest amount of baseball that you could have.
Miners just waiting for that spark. Occasionally it has come late in games.
4 straight foul balls now for McCausland, who is trying to find something. And instead, he is going to swing and miss, and that is going to be another strikeout for Rose. And it is still going to be a 7-1 ball game. The Anchorage Bucs absolutely dominant on the road. Miners are starting to run out of time. We'll be back for the top of the 7th. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. And hey, folks, if you want more Miners content, check out our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of cool clips up there. We'll be airing some more highlights and interviews that will be on the channel shortly. So keep an eye on that, and also check out our socials on Instagram and X or Twitter or whatever you call it nowadays. Tommy Eisenstadt at the plate will let this pitch go by from Nico Tomasello. The count will go to 1-0.
The Matsu Miners are on Twitter and Instagram as well, and I think we're allowed to plug our socials on this broadcast too, right? Surely we are.
Absolutely.
So I'm C-Fellows TV on Twitter, main Red Sox fan on Instagram, and based on that, you should know I'm very happy with what transpired with the Red Sox earlier today. I'm very excited to watch those highlights when I get home.
Cute.
Dylan Simmons SB in both, I believe.
Dylan Simmons SB on Twitter, Dylan.Simmons11 on Instagram. As that goes high for ball number 3. Not very active on Twitter. I need to work on that, but I'm pretty active on Instagram. You can always see me posting stuff on my story. Anything about the Miners, you can find it there.
I'm the same way, but for Twitter.
As that pitch is high for ball number 4, so it's going to be another leadoff walk, a 4-pitch one from Nico Tomasello, and Tommy Eisenstadt racking up on the stat board. He's on to first with a walk.
It's actually incredible. 4 of the 7 first batters of an inning that have played in this game have reached via a walk, and all 3 of them prior to this inning have come around to score. Eisenstadt draws his 3rd walk. He's at 0 for 1 in this game with a flyout and 3 free passes. He's also scored 2 runs. Hopefully that will not become a 3rd.
That's a wild stat line to consider from Tommy Eisenstadt, as Will Burns is trying to burn the Matsu defense here. Speaking of burning, this Oilers offense has been hotter than a Charizard here tonight. 7 runs, and got to give them credit. They have capitalized on Matsu's mistakes.
You did it again, my friend. These are the Bucs.
Did I call them the Oilers?
Yes, you did.
And by the way, that's going to be another balk from Nico Tomasello as he just waltzes his way to second base. Count's going to go to 2-1. And the bad night becomes worse. So the Anchorage Bucs, yes, they're the ones who have been red hot as of late. Will Burns at the plate, already coming off the dominant win yesterday, 13-2. They're up 7-1 here today. That is 20-3 over the last 2 games so far, and they may not be done yet. That one fouled off, and the count's going to go to 2-2.
Enjoy a little bit of motion sickness there. Thanks to Will Burns and his foul ball.
It's the closest thing you're going to get to a roller coaster here in Alaska, outside of the state fair. There is actually an old roller coaster that sits in the parking lot, or close to the parking lot. Sure, only active during fair season. That pitch is just outside, and the count should go to 3-2 here. We'll double check on that.
Probably convince a couple of guys to go and hotwire that thing, have some fun.
Home plate umpire is going to call it as 1-2, it looks like, which is odd considering what we had counted.
Yeah, it's definitely 2-2. I think the umpire lost count. Yeah, see, now he's got 3-2.
Okay, so it is 3-2 now. He was holding up the 3 on the right hand. Usually it's the left hand that is the way it works. Now he's showing 2-2.
Now he says 2 again. Yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, it's something in 2 strikes. We don't know which, but anyway, it's going to be a big pitch from Tomasello. This one goes outside, and now it's shown as ball number 3.
I don't think that's right. I think the umpire might have missed a pitch there.
I think he missed something because it looked to me like...
We could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure when I wasn't talking about, or joking about, I should clarify, going and riding the roller coaster, I was paying enough attention, and it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter anyway. Burns is going to make it on a walk. So all of that for another walk to be issued by Nico Tomasello, his 2nd straight. And the Oilers are just continuing on their march through the base paths and doing it unabated.
That's 8 walks in this game for the Oilers. Or God, I did it. That's
yeah,
that
you
time.
did it.
The Bucs. They have had a base runner in every inning and multiple walks in 3 innings now.
You're going to have to give us some grief, folks. We are trying to get the Oilers out of our head, but we spent nearly a week down there calling the same game, Miners-Oilers, so we are trying to work it out of our heads. This is the Anchorage Bucs, and they are showing their stuff tonight. That pitch outside for ball number 2, Peyton Knowles at the plate. He's got an opportunity to score Eisenstadt from second, and if it's good enough, maybe even score Burns. 7 total hits for the Bucs, but 8 walks issued by Matsu has been maybe the bigger story tonight. No errors on either side, but the pitching mistakes have just been very costly. Bunt shown, and that's going to be a nice strike from Tomasello.
Tomasello finds the zone there. He's struggled ever since he came in to consistently throw strikes, and Drew Kennan is warming up in the Miners bullpen, but with how this game is going, you might think Tyler Brunn might just cut his losses, and
as that's going to be a ground ball right up the middle. Richard gets to it and does get to first, so good awareness and good movement by Ryan Richard to pick up that baseball. It is going to be the first out here in the top half of the 7th, but there are now runners on second and third.
That was unfortunate. If he had been a little bit closer to second base, he might have been able to stick his leg out and get a double play there, but he had to leave that position in order to field the grounder. Got the first out, and the third batter to bat, which is much better than the 5th inning went. That time the first out did not come until batter number 6, and that out was a sac fly that scored a run.
Enyard at the plate, pitch from Tomasello. It's a curveball, and it's in there for a strike.
As I was saying, though, you might want to just, I'm not saying to throw in the towel or anything. This game is far from over, of course, but just to save some arms for the future, because you do have a doubleheader tomorrow. This is the first of 4 games in 3 days.
Chopper left side, right to Richard, throw to home plate. Oh, beautiful play. Now Baltz trying to take care of the runner. Here's the throw back to third, and they got him. Great work by Ryan Richard in a high IQ baseball play, able to take care of the runner in the hot corner, and a run is denied by the Miners 2 away.
That was excellent heads-up defense. He saw that Eisenstadt wasn't close enough to home plate that he could throw down there, and Baltz would be able to turn it into a rundown. They weren't risking anybody getting any extra bases on that because there was already a runner at second. So really a win-win situation, and they get the second out. They might be able to escape this with no runs coming in.
That they do, and we'll see if Mat-Su can accomplish that task. Brody Briggs now at the plate. This pitch is low, and that's going to be ball number 1.
Briggs has singled, flied out, been picked off.
Time called by Briggs.
The bottom 2 of this lineup are combined 1 of 6, which really just tells you how much work the rest of the Bucs have put in this game.
Tomasello the pitch, and that's outside. Ball 1. Count evens at 1 ball and 1 strike.
As I was saying, for the second time, though, this is the first of 4 games in 3 days. Of course, the doubleheader down in Anchorage tomorrow, and then back here on Wednesday against Chugiak. You're going to want to save your arms for that. You saw what happened to Peninsula on Saturday when they didn't save their arms. You wind up having position players on the mound, and the game just spirals out of control even more. So it's definitely a tricky spot that you're put into here. Do you go deeper into the bullpen and hope that your bats can get a miraculous comeback, or do you just ride it out with Tomasello and go again next time?
Yeah, it's a strategic conundrum for Mat-Su in this situation. You're down by 6 runs, and there's not much time left in the grand scheme of it. There are still a couple innings, or rather 3 innings, to do something offensively, but it's been very difficult. Breaking ball, and that's going to be ball 3. Count goes to 3-1, and a few of the Miners fans unhappy with that call. They have just not been agreeing with the zone of the home plate umpire tonight.
And I'm going to say it, rightfully so. It has been very tough going for the Miners pitchers, and going to blow off a little bit of steam.
3-1 count, and that is going to be a foul ball, or it might just be a strike. Either way, it's a full count.
No difference at that point in the count between the two. It was a nice little slider by Tomasello. He's been throwing a lot of fastballs, throwing them high and away. He has other pitches in his arsenal.
He's got a great set of pitches as the runners go, and it's not going to matter. It's ball 4. Holy smoly. Bases loaded for the Bucs once again, as Nico Tomasello has delivered another walk, another base on balls, runner on first, and the Bucs just continue to continue.
Holy smoly indeed, my friend. I couldn't have said it any better myself. This is the 3rd walk of the inning for Tomasello, the 4th overall. Gets the Miners up to 9, and here comes Tyler Brunn. That's going to be it for Nico.
So Nico Tomasello will have his day come to an end. And it looks like we will. Tyler Brunn motions over, and we will see our new pitcher make his way to the mound.
Drew Kennan was warming up in the bullpen before, and I believe this is going to be him, number 23. Yep. He closed out that Game 5 win in Peninsula. Did a great job. Now he'll pitch here just in mop-up duty.
Yeah, Kennan, the Park Ridge, Illinois native, man out of Dartmouth, a great chess player. We heard from some of the players that they think that he's not as good as chess, as good at chess as he's made out to be. But I'd say with that Dartmouth education, he certainly has that in his bag.
That's probably a prerequisite they need. You need to go there. I don't remember what they were saying. It was what his ELO was on chess.com. I won't claim to be an expert in that, but it sounded pretty good. It was in the thousands, which, you know, if there are any chess.com players in the YouTube chat, I'd love some insight on that. But so far this season, Kennan has appeared in 3 games, thrown 3 2/3 innings, has allowed just 1 hit and no runs. One of only a few pitchers on the staff with a 0.00 ERA, and he and Nolan Murphy are tied with the most innings thrown with that mark at 3 2/3. So he's going to come on and just get the Miners to the finish line in a game they trail by 6 runs, with Christian Powell, who's 0 for 3, due up. 2 outs here in the top of the 7th.
So Drew Kennan and the Miners down by 6, and Kennan obviously in a very disadvantageous situation. You've got the bases loaded, but there are 2 outs already, so it's not the end of the world. All you need is just 1 out, and you can get an out at any bag you so choose, or even home plate if that's the route you want to go. Or better yet, you could just get a strikeout and end it that way. So Drew Kennan certainly has his options open, as does the defense. You don't have to do anything too complicated in this situation. And right now, that's the biggest goal. Just get out of the top half of the 7th and keep the score at 6 runs for your team being down.
I've observed the fielders definitely practice throwing to first most. So in a bases-loaded situation where you just need 1 force out, even if throwing home would be easier, more often than not, you see them throw to first. It's an interesting little quirk as a result of all that training, that repetition you got to do, get it down to a science.
That's the one that defenders practice the most, is that throw to first base. So definitely wouldn't doubt that could happen, as that's a low pitch from Kennan. The count's going to go to 1-0.
Christian Powell is trying to join the party here for Anchorage. Everyone else has not only reached base, everyone else on the team has reached base multiple times in this game, and Powell is 0 for 3.
He's going to pop this one foul. Up and over the cage it goes. The count evens at 1-1.
Got a line out, a strikeout looking, and a ground out. What I call a very great play by Ryan Richard back in the 5th inning to end that game. That was the inning where about 17 Bucs crossed home plate.
Count goes to 1-2. Yeah, that was the 4-run top of the 5th that really put this game on the trajectory that it's currently on. Surprisingly enough, though, the Bucs have not scored a run yet here in the top of the 7th inning. And that's going to be a strikeout. So Drew Kennan comes in, steps up, and delivers like FedEx in the top half of the 7th. Score still 7-1, and the Miners hanging around looking for something to go right after the stretch. We'll see if they do. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. It is the bottom half of the 7th inning, and for the first time in this game, the Anchorage Bucs have a new man on the mound, Austin Kirkwood, unlucky number 13. It's been an unlucky night for the Miners, and Kirkwood looking to keep that going.
Oh, it's been lucky for the Bucs, so lucky number 13 perhaps will keep him going. Another San Diego State Aztec, replacing Zane Rose, a 6'8" lefty out of Placentia, California, had an 11.81 ERA in 5 1/3 innings with the Aztecs as a freshman. Threw 1 1/3 innings against Hawaii back on March 22nd and struck out 2 Air Force Falcons back on the 16th of March. graduated from El Dorado High School, where he went 2 for 2 as a senior with a 3.03 ERA and 32 strikeouts as a reliever. Helped the El Dorado Hawks to 3 straight Southern Section playoff appearances.
Kellen Strohmeyer at the plate lets this pitch go by. It's inside for ball number 1. And you got to love the Miners fans. They are staying in this game, staying engaged, and not quitting yet on their team, trying to will them to get back into this ball game. Strohmeyer will watch this go by. It's high, and it's ball number 2. If they can find something out on Kirkwood early, there may be an opportunity to at least get a couple runs here. We're still far from over. There's still the 7th, 8th, and 9th for Matsu to potentially chip away. Get a couple runs here, all of a sudden things are looking up. The 2-0, Strohmeyer swings and misses, and the count goes to 2-1.
So that will end a masterful day for Zan Rose. He goes 6 innings, allows 4 hits, strikes out 5, walks 1, allows just the 1 run. But toward the end of that, from the 3rd inning really onward, after that Don Patrizi double, he was completely unhittable.
Strohmeyer will wisely let it go by. It's well inside for ball 3, and hey, maybe Kellen Strohmeyer can force a leadoff walk here in the bottom half of the 7th.
Kirkwood inherited that streak of 12 straight Miners retired by Zane Rose, and he's in danger of ending it here.
Here's the 3-1, and that's ball 4. 5-pitch leadoff walk for Kellen Strohmeyer. He's on to first base, and the Miners have a runner aboard for the first time in a good bit. Maybe the start of something here in this bottom half of the frame.
Nothing good ever came from a leadoff walk. You mentioned the enthusiasm of the Miners fans. We just had a chat with one particular Miners fan, our host dad, Wade Erickson, who came up here. It's the first game he's been able to make it to, and he showed up in the 5th inning, and that's exactly when the Anchorage Bucs put their foot down on Matsu's neck, so you all know who to blame.
As that's going to be a swing and a miss by Brandon Durand. Wade has been a great host dad for us, put us in a really nice apartment just nearby his household, and we thank him for that. He's done a good job for us, and we definitely appreciate it. 0-1 count. Pitch from Kirkwood, swing and a miss from Durand, and the count's going to go to 0-2.
Durand 0 for 2. This is just the 3rd time through the order for the Miners still. The Bucs will begin their 5th time through the order in the top of the 8th coming up. Durand has flied out twice.
And you can tell he's being very aggressive at the plate here in this at-bat. Probably could have avoided swinging in that last pitch, and he's going to swing and miss this one as well. So Brandon Durand struck out in 3 pitches by Austin Kirkwood, and that is 1 away in the bottom half of the 7th. Kirkwood getting another K.
The organ music continues to play over the loudspeakers after Durand is trotting back to the dugout. But he didn't get the memo. Chase Wilcox singled in the 2nd inning, struck out looking in the 4th.
Wilcox, the Central Missouri,
in front of him, and that could potentially get Kellen Strohmeyer further around on the base paths.
1-0 count. Wilcox will, looks like, have a swing and a miss there. Count goes to 1-1. Thought I heard him contact it for a second, but either way he missed it, and the count goes to 1-1.
He definitely got a piece of that because it went off the shin of the umpire. Luckily he's wearing guards, at least I assume, because you could not take a shot like that to the shin and stay upright. Trust me, I know.
It is not a pleasant experience when you get hit by that baseball. 1-1 count. Wilcox will let it go in low. Another low pitch below the zone like you were talking about. And the count is going to be 2-1 now.
Kirkwood trying to calibrate his curveball. Don't know if he's made any appearances for the Bucs. Their game-by-game stats are not available, so we apologize for that. But in any event, he's just trying to keep himself polished, keep himself warm, and hopefully not open the doors for a massive comeback.
I can tell you he has made 1 appearance this year, but that's it so far. Been pretty limited in his appearances in regular season play. He did play in the showcase against Matsu. Count is 2 balls and 2 strikes to Chase Wilcox. Looking for hit number 5 for Matsu. He let it go by again, and again it was a smart decision. Ball 3, count runs full, and a payoff pitch on the way.
Part of it is Andrew Lamb, too. I think he's just got to get used to, after Zan Rose was just firing the zone full of fastballs, he's got more of a finesse pitcher on the mound now, trying to dot the edges of the zone, and he's let a couple balls that should have been catchable go off his pads. Hasn't had to pay for it yet, but Wilcox and the Miners will be well to themselves to exploit that should the opportunity arise.
Wilcox called time briefly. Count staying full. If they're going to get go time underway, then this may be the time to get things started. And time called once more.
That time it was Kirkwood. Little gamesmanship afoot.
Yeah, a little bit of a chess match between these two, so to speak. Wilcox, the lefty batter. Kirkwood, the southpaw. And a throw back to first. They're trying to do something with Strohmeyer. So we're going to try this again.
Kirkwood doing our best pre-2023 MLB simulator. He's now gone about a minute and a half since he thrown his last pitch.
The 3-2. And that's ball number 4. So Chase Wilcox forces a walk. He's on to first base. Runners on first and second for Matsu. And the Miners starting to get something cooking in the kitchen here in the bottom half of the 7th.
Kirkwood has faced 3 batters, and he's already doubled.
And now we're going to see Lamb and Kirkwood have a conversation close to the bump.
That stream just disconnected for a solid 10 seconds there, but you didn't miss anything. Chase Wilcox walked. No pitches thrown yet. Andrew Lamb and Austin Kirkwood having a chat about strategy as Ryan Richard, the always dangerous hitter, digs in with one away.
We'll see if Matsu goes for any potential stolen bases here as well, as that pitch is high and outside for ball 1. This is kind of similar to what started the Bucs on their incredible run in the top of the 5th, just giving up consistent walks for the Matsu pitchers. And now Kirkwood kind of resembling that. Could be the way to get Matsu back in this game, an equalizer of sorts, and that's ball 2.
Lamb once again just barely keeps it in front of him. Eventually he is going to let one through, and when he does, Strohmeyer at first will make him pay.
Count is 2-0. Kirkwood again taking his time, not very quick when it comes to his pitches. He does get a strike there. It's pretty low in the zone, but he just fit it in. Looking strike on Richard, and the count is 2-1.
First pitch first strike he's thrown in a bit. The last count was 3-2, but it started out 0-2.
Kirkwood fires in another one. Richard lets it go by, and that's going to be ball number 3.
The Miners are wise to it. He can't throw strikes.
And if he can't throw strikes, then continue to let him throw balls and get on base. That's the idea for Matsu.
No activity in the Bucs pen yet. They're hoping Kirkwood can ride this out, and he very well might.
3-1 count, Kirkwood. This ball is popped up, and it's going to be into shallow right field. That's going to be an easy catch for Zane Kelly. Boy, that was about the worst-case scenario for Matsu.
That's a very welcome gift for the Anchorage Bucs that looked like it could have potentially been ball 4. It was definitely high in the zone. But Richard saw something. You know, he's the hitter. We're the broadcasters. We won't pretend to know what it looked like from the plate, but unfortunately the result was about the worst-case scenario, barring a double play for the Miners. And we're back to the top of the order now, where Drake Kerr is having an uncharacteristically cold day. He's 0 for 3 with a fly out, a pop out, and a ground out, hoping to not complete the cycle of outs by going down on strikes here.
Yeah, the lone Miners batter above 300 on the season, but right now he is struggling against this Anchorage Bucs pitching unit. Kirkwood and Rose. You see,
we've got a pitching change here.
And we are going to get a pitching change. Interesting. So Kirkwood not going to last long, only 2/3 of an inning, and he makes his way out. So the third pitcher of the game for the Bucs is on.
Trying to get his number real quick. That's a single-digit number. It's either 8 or 9. And Drew Lamb is in the way right now.
And a reminder that Matsu has runners on first and second with 2 outs in this situation. So there is an opportunity to cut into this lead, which is the biggest thing.
Well, it's not even close. That is number 28.
That is number 28. Ryan Hayter, it looks like, is on the mound, or Rylan Hayter, rather, from Olympia, Washington, and Washington State, 6'2", 200 pounds.
Rylan Hayter, an 11.25 ERA and 16 innings with the Cougars as a freshman. 3 of them against Oregon State on May 4th. Was a 4-year letter winner in high school. Was the All-South Puget Sound League first team as a junior with a 1.33 ERA. in 21 innings pitched, and as a senior, he was a 4A State Player of the Year, set a school record with wins, a 10-0 record, 0.52 ERA, 53 strikeouts, and led his high school to a state title. So he has seen success at every level of the sport. As a freshman, got time playing with Washington State and was not terrible.
474.
He is certainly going to be a tough challenge for Matsu, and especially Drake Kerr, who has had a cold day, 0 for 3 like you mentioned. Still looking for that first hit. We know what he's capable of, but he's got to find something here in this at-bat. This may be Matsu's last chance at making a potential comeback. You just don't feel good about it if they go into the 8th still down by 6 runs. It almost seems elementary at that point. Although never say never in the ABL.
Look at this sidearm delivery here by the right-hander. So almost a submarine delivery where he steps forward on the mound. Forward meaning to the side, like
Yes.
forward the way he's looking instead of stepping toward the batter.
Yeah, it's an interesting pitching motion. He's got that sidearm like you mentioned, and
So the ball comes from a very different spot. It
Right.
kind of diagonally comes toward the plate. It's really tough to read for batters and umpires alike.
Your center fielder, number
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Kerr and the Miners handle this. It's always a bit of an adjustment for the men in the batter's box. Drake Kerr with perhaps the biggest at-bat of the game coming up for Matsu. Kellen Strohmeyer at second, Chase Wilcox at first, Kerr at the plate, as that pitch is inside for ball number 1. Kerr representing run number 4 for the Miners in this game.
To the 37 of you who have stuck around, we appreciate you. Doing our best to bring the action your way, and hey, if things go the right way in the next few innings, you'll be happy you stayed.
As that's a looking strike. There was that sidearm from Rylan Hayter, as he fired one in right past Drake Kerr, who let it go. Thought it might just go outside the zone. Instead, it painted the outside corner. As there's a brief pause in the action. Hayter getting his bearings. Drake Kerr trying to make some magic happen. There's the sidearm pitch, and it is outside for ball 2. The margin for error very close on that one, and just couldn't fit it in the zone.
On that pitch, sure, but in the overall game, the margin of error for the Bucs is very high. They can afford to dance around the plate a little bit and walk him if you have to.
That being true, and that's a swing and a miss on a low pitch by Drake Kerr. And the count will even at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Kerr is 1 strike away from ending the bottom half of the 7th, and Matsu stranding 2 runners on base, which has been a
runner
problem.
scored and scoring position as well. I believe that would
Yes.
be the 4th in this game.
An issue that plagued them early on in the series against Peninsula, and now it is made a return. Kerr lets that go outside, and that was an easy call. That's going to be ball number 3, and the count goes full again. We saw Ryan Richard get it to this point, only to pop one out to right. And now we'll have to see how Drake Kerr negotiates this full count.
Wilcox had a big lead off of first, too. I wonder if both the runners are going to be running, and indeed they are.
Here's a liner towards left. It's going to be just fouled.
Oh, that could have been it.
That would have been probably easily a bases clearing shot.
Absolutely. That would have been a double at least. That would have scored 2 runs if that had dropped fair. It was so close.
Instead, Drake Kerr just unable to find the line. Matsu has been unlucky in that department today. So another payoff pitch for the man out of Texas A&M Corpus Christi. This is a line shot towards left field. There's a bobble by the shortstop, and Kerr is on to first. Base is loaded for Matsu as Strohmeyer had to slide back to the hot corner after he had gotten away for just a second. And that was a mistake by Will Burns as he just couldn't handle it. The first error of the game. It's an E6.
Fortuitous E6 for the Miners. Loads the bases with 2 outs. It's really unfortunate that Strohmeyer wasn't able to score on that, but considering how weakly that was hit and the bobble, it didn't bounce. It just kind of died right there on the grass, so he would have been out by a mile if he had tried to go for home. So it was the right play. Blake Bouts has a single back in the first, is 0 for 2 since. He can do his part to change the trajectory of this game just a little bit if he can tag Rylan Hayter for a big one here.
Baltz lets this one go by. It's a low pitch for ball 1, and the bases are juiced for Matsu. But again, it's going to be all for naught if Blake Baltz cannot deliver a massive hit right here.
I believe the scoreboard operator gave Kerr a hit for that, but we are the scorekeepers here.
Initially,
Definitely
it
looked
was
like an
called
error
an
to me.
error on the scoreboard. That's going to be a strike. We're going to uphold it on here as an E6, but we may take some other arguments later on. Count's going to be 1-1.
Well, we might pretend to, but we're the ones in charge here.
That's true. That is true.
Keepers of the keys.
1-1 count. Blake Baltz trying to put the keys into the ignition, and that's going to be strike 2.
Right on the inside edge. Miners fans groan on that one.
Yeah, it's another close call, one that is going to be very hotly contested from the Miners fans, and now we're at another 1-2 and one strike away from ending the 7th. It's been a long 7th inning. Baltz will get struck out. A sidearm strikeout from Rylan Hayter, and Matsu has to drink the Haterade in the bottom half of the 7th, still down by 6 runs, and they leave the bases loaded, no runs scored. Charlie Fellows will take you through the rest of the way. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
To the 8th inning we go under the Chugach Mountains in Palmer, Alaska, the home of the Matsu Miners. It has not been a great homecoming for Matsu. The fans have been out in full force and giving their best encouragement to their hometown team, but today it has not been enough. The Bucs lead at 7-1. Drew Kennan on for another inning of work. He's got the top 3 of the order, the 5th time through, and that's ripped right at the first baseman Perez. A 1-pitch out. Zane Kelly sits down.
Well, that's definitely a good way to start. Lined it right out to Christian Perez, who's had a pretty good game defensively. He's been over there at first through the entire way and has done a good job of securing several outs. So Perez at first has certainly worked tonight, a bright spot in what's been a bit of a dark game for Matsu.
The defense in general has been excellent. There haven't been really many balls on the ground for them to test their mettle with because so many of them have either been walks, strikeouts, or just base hits. But when they've been tested, they've done well. That pitch just misses from Kennan to Andrew Lamb, who has drawn a pair of walks, hit a single, and grounded out today.
Freshman out of Coto de Caza, California, USC. Had a 118 average for the Trojans this past year, and 3 RBIs total. Played in 24 games, so he certainly had a pretty big sample size, and I'm sure he'll make an even bigger impact next year. Had 2 hits against Portland back on February 24th.
On the ground, a second, Patrizzi to Perez, and a quick second out. It's the first time all game they've gotten the first 2 men in the inning out in order.
Nice 4-3 put out by Patrizzi that time. He's been pretty good over at second base. We've talked about how he's been used throughout the infield this season, but him at second base has certainly worked out today. He also played third base in the series against the Oilers in one game and did pretty solid work from over there as well, so showing his versatility.
Ryan Callahan will take a high ball. He has flied out, been hit by a pitch, singled, and lined out to Christian Perez. He's also come around.
The pitch, very quick, doesn't take a lot of time in between pitches, although he slows down a little bit right here.
That's right down the middle. Kind of doing what Harehill, Mendoza, and Tomasello before him struggled to, find the strike zone consistently. Here's a 3-1. That's hit the opposite field and goes off the glove of Richard into left field. That'll be a base hit. Would have been a tough play for the shortstop. Ryan Callahan's got his second hit.
Yeah, Richard trying to come over and make that play. The eighth hit of the game for the Bucs, and like you mentioned, that was going to be tough. He was in a bit of an awkward position, trying to make a lateral movement on the baseball, couldn't quite secure it. But even if he had gotten a hand on that baseball, trying to throw that off balance to Perez would have been incredibly tough.
The Miners have issued 9 walks in this game, and a third of them have gone to Tommy Eisenstadt, who has walked 3 times, flied out, has scored 2 runs, and been thrown out at home a third time. He's done a lot of running in this game, and a lot of walking as well. That's into shallow left field foul territory. Wilcox under it, and he makes the grab in foul ground to retire the side. A painless inning. Wasn't 1-2-3, but it did not score a run for the Bucs, which at this point in the game is all you can realistically ask for. 7-1 the margin. The Miners have 6 outs left to mount a miraculous comeback, and they'll start that effort right after this. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Bottom 8 at Herman Brothers Field. Don Patrizzi, Christian Perez, Kyle McCausland, the 3-2 up in the bottom of the 8th. The Bucs have 6 outs to go to maintain their iron grip on the top of the ABL standings, and specifically their iron grip in the minds of Miners fans. That 10-9 game, many would have considered a fluke. This game is many things, but a fluke is not one of them. Patrizzi's got a double. One of the few hits the Miners have managed in this game. He's also struck out and flied out. Takes a Felon Hader, who is still in the game.
Yeah, it certainly has not been a fluky game by any metric. This has been the best of the Anchorage Bucs, and I'll tell you what, I've been impressed by their discipline in this game. They've been so good at not making the critical mistake that's going to cost them and not allowing Mat-Su to get back into this game, even when the Miners have some sort of breathing room, have an opportunity to secure a run on the board. The Bucs have slammed the door time and time again, and that's been their biggest thing into keeping this.
In the break between the top and bottom of the 8th. Heard someone very happy about that.
Always got some big prizes on the line, and of course you can use some of those tickets at the apparel shop as well, I hear.
In center field off the bat of Christian Perez is 0 for 3, a fly out, a line out, and a pop out. His struggles continue. As do the struggles for the live stream. We apologize. This is currently chugging along. Hope you can still hear us. That's hit into center field, a bit better. We're coming on Knowles, and he's going to let it drop. That's a hit. 1-out single for Christian Perez, just the kind of knock that he needed. And perhaps exactly what the Miners need to reevaluate this game, see maybe we can make one last push.
Number 30, Kyle.
Yeah, nice little,
just need one spark.
yeah, nice little bloop shot into shallow center field that time. Up over the head of Hader and right in front of Knowles. Just couldn't get to it in time. That's a great piece of hitting and shows the versatility out off of the plate by Christian Perez.
Ball 1 comes in to Kyle McCausland, who
I think
scored.
there's some lightning out there in the sky. Sorry to cut you
Yeah,
off.
no, the ranging thunderstorms are always a threat. I haven't heard any thunder. Pitch comes in, check swing, and that was a strike anyway. McCausland has scored the only run of the game for the Miners. He did that back in the second when he hit a leadoff double. He's also grounded out and struck out. With Christian Perez on first. I might be hearing some thunder rolling in now. He hits that one right at the second baseman, flips on for one, on to first in time to turn two. Another quick inning for the Miner Bats, and not in a good way. 7-1 the score remains as we head to the top of the ninth inning. Anchorage Bucs looking to put the finishing touches on an easy win. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. To the ninth inning we go in Palmer. 3 outs left for both teams, and the Bucs, as you can see on the scoreboard, in a much more advantageous position, 7-1. Now the team with a Pirate logo will face off against the man they call Pirate, Robert Burke III, on for closing mop-up duty here in this 7-1 soon-to-be likely defeat for Mat-Su.
Yeah, despite the nickname, he's not from Seton Hall. He's not like Nick Bisaccia, Nick Ferry. The reason they call him Pirate is because he wears a Pittsburgh Pirates hat quite a bit. He's obviously a big fan, and that's where the nickname Pirate comes from. But Mr. Pirate, Robert Burke III, is a sophomore out of Aledo, Texas, like you mentioned, and he also plays for Ranger Community College in Texas. 6 feet tall, 185 pounds, number 262 right-handed pitcher in Texas during his prep days. And he was also a guy who's made 2 appearances and has 2 innings pitched on the season so far for Mat-Su. In cleanup duty here in the top of the ninth, just trying to help Mat-Su to keep this game within 6.
Will Burns, Peyton Knowles, Adam Enyart, the trio due up pending any pinch hitters. And just a game after all that momentum you had coming in, after how well the offense played. Dylan, do you think this is just Zan Rose and the pitching staff for the Buccaneers just being incredible, or is this just another setback for the offense?
I don't really view it as a setback. I think of it more as just a great pitching performance by Anchorage. We know that they have great pitching, and they've shown that time and time again this season. There's a reason that it's so hard for many teams to get a lot of runs off of them, because they just play good defensive baseball, and that isn't even just their pitching. Their infield defense has been superb. They haven't made a lot of mistakes, just 1 error on the game, according to our stuff. So they've just been really solid all the way through, and although it's going to be tough for Mat-Su to deal with this kind of loss, I don't think it's one that they should be too discouraged about. At the end of the day, they were just the better team tonight, and you just got to find a way to combat that.
I agree with you for sure. Here is Will Burns, who has walked, been hit by a pitch, singled, and struck out in this game.
And the biggest thing as well is that Mat-Su has had opportunities, and that's another thing that they can use. Yes, it may be a setback for the offense in one sense, because they've had runners in scoring position quite a bit tonight and haven't been able to deliver runs. So they can look at that and say, hey, we missed some opportunities. There's a chance that in the future we can win, but we've got to make sure to drive in runs. So I'm sure that's the thing that Coach LeBrun and the staff are going to look at when they go back to the drawing board for tomorrow's games.
It's just a stark difference when you score 9 runs against a team and then you score 1 run against them. It's a similar experience to what they had against Peninsula last week, where you blow a team out, or obviously they didn't blow out the Bucs, but the offense was on full display, and now they come back here and their bats are just completely flummoxed by the series of pitchers that have been on the mound for Anchorage.
Yeah, it's been tough tonight. The bats were still in the cooler, unfortunately, and they were cold throughout the entire course of the game. But like we know, Mat-Su has the opportunity to explode, and I'm sure those bats are going to be red hot again And I think tomorrow is going to be a great chance for them to get a pick-me-up against the Glacier Pilots team that has really struggled defensively, and especially with pitching. Mat-Su can use that to their advantage, kind of work on some things, find some things that could work for the future.
That is going to be a walk on a full count. Back-to-back pitches get away from Blake Baltz, and Will Burns on with a leadoff base on balls. His second. Yeah, the Pilots definitely are
25, Peyton Knowles.
a much less formidable opponent than their crosstown rivals, but that's a double-edged sword, right? If you go in there and you barely eke out a win, or God forbid you lose one or two of those games, then what now? Like, are we suddenly the worst offense in the ABL? Like, what do you think after a game like that? Those obviously wouldn't be a logical way to think about it, but those are the kind of things that come through your mind when you're in a skid like this.
That is true. That is true. And that's part of the mental game, so to speak. You can't let those thoughts enter your head. Right now, I think you don't even consider the idea of losing to the Pilots. Your mentality is just win. Win that game in any way that it takes, and learn more about yourself, learn more about your team. I think for Mat-Su, you just can't even think about that right now. You've just got to push that to the recesses of your mind and just focus on executing and getting the job done. And I'm sure that's what Coach LeBrun is going to try to instill into their heads. Tonight is tough, but we've seen Mat-Su bounce back from losses before. Lost 4 straight to Peninsula and then had that blowout win on Saturday.
That's through on the right side for a base hit. The second of the game for Peyton Knowles, and 2 men aboard here in the top of the 9th. That game against the Glacier Pilots, that was the home opener here at Herman Brothers. That was actually a comeback win. I believe the Pilots had a 4-0 lead in that game, and that ended up being 9-4 in favor of the Miners.
Right. So I'm sure Mat-Su is going to consider that. And while Mulcahy Stadium has been a tough place for them to play this season, I don't think that it's going to be a huge deterrent. All I can say is this: it's going to be fun.
That ball gets to the backstop, so the runners will advance. Blake Baltz having a hard time hanging on to Robert Burke's offerings, and there'll be second and third here with nobody out. Chance for the Bucs to run up the score a little bit more. First wild pitch of the game.
Yeah, now we'll see what they're going to do in this situation with 2 runners in scoring position. For Robert Burke, it's all about establishing control right now and making sure that you keep things in front of Blake Baltz, and I'm sure that's what they're discussing. And nice little fist bump there at the end. Just trying to make sure that the Bucs don't run up this score anymore.
Bullpen is empty for the Miners, devoid of action, so they are going to ride out with Burke through the good and the bad. See if he can salvage this. A good addition to the highlight reel I know he keeps. Into right field, dropping right into the glove of Kellen Strohmeyer. 1 run is going to tag and score. Throw was actually great, right on line by Strohmeyer to Baltz, but too little too late. Will Burns comes home to make this an 8-1 ball game.
That was a heck of a throw by Strohmeyer that time. He showed his cannon on that throw. Tell you what, if he had had a little bit more time, who knows, he might have had an opportunity to potentially get the man out, but either way, it's 8-1 now, Bucs.
Brody Briggs up now, has singled, walked, and made a couple outs. Takes a pitch on the inside corner for a strike. That was the corner that the Bucs were so comfortably getting throughout most of this game. The Miners been a little less consistent with that call, hitting the opposite field toward foul ground. And a good catch made on one hop by a fan over in the gravel area.
Yeah, go get your souvenir. And there have been a few of those tonight. Not as many as usual, but certainly they've been for the taking.
High bouncing ball fielded by Patrizzi. He'll throw on to first for out number 2. Knowles briefly had a look at trying to score on that, but he thought better of it.
Yeah,
so
I think
there'll
that
be
was
a runner on third with 2 away.
that was the right decision, because that would have been an easy throw for Perez or Patrizzi either way to make towards home plate, and we both know that they have accuracy. So good decision by Knowles. Stay back and let Christian Powell try to do it instead.
Powell's 0 for 4. Trying to avoid the dubious distinction of going 0 for 5 in a game where all of his teammates have reached base multiple times. He has lined out, struck out twice, and grounded out.
That's a
Another
big batch of
booming
thunder.
roll of thunder comes in.
Can we just please finish the game at least? Come on, Mother Nature.
Looks like the rain is going to hold off, at least here at the park. That's a strike fired in by Burke. And even if it did start raining, I would be shocked if the game was suspended. I think the only major loss in that instance would be our GoPro, although those things are built to be water resistant.
Yes. Very strong waterproof devices. They can withstand a lot of environments from what I've heard. Desert, tundra.
The display might get a little blurry, though. That skips in the dirt. Diving stop by Baltz.
Great job by Baltz to keep that baseball in front of him. That should have been a run scored for the Bucs.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Robert Burke trying to end this frame and give the Miners 3 and potentially more chances to make this a little more respectable at least. Here's a 2-2. On the ground, fielded past the diving glove of the shortstop Richard and into left field for a base hit, so that will score Knowles. 9 runs on the board for the Bucs here on a single, and Powell avoids that ignominy. He is on for the first time today. Second hit surrendered by Burke.
Yeah, that's now 10 hits for the Bucs in this game. They have reached double digits and done it in fantastic fashion. Beautiful shot into left that time. And Richard did everything he could to keep the baseball in front of him, but it was just going too fast and in the wrong spot. RBI single for Christian Powell, and the lead only continues to balloon for the Bucs.
Well, here is Zane Kelly for the 6th time. He takes a strike to make it an 0-2 count. He is flied out, grounded out, lined out, walked, singled, and scored. Also been doubled off. 0-2 in the dirt. Kelly didn't offer. Every pitcher for the Miners, of which there have been 5, has allowed at least 1 hit and walked at least 1 batter, for a total of 10 walks and, as you said, 10 hits. Factor in a couple hit by pitches too, and it is hard to win a game when you give up that many base runners.
Yeah, it is not a recipe for success, and Matsu only getting half the hits that the Bucs have in this game.
2-2, mile-high pop. Wilcox under it on the edge of foul territory, and he had to backpedal a bit, but he's got it in his glove for out number 3. The Bucs plate a couple more. They lead it 9-1 in the 9th. 3 outs remain for Matsu. It will be Kellen Strohmeyer, Brandon Duran, Chase Wilcox in the tallest of mountains to climb, the lastest of stands due up right after this. You're watching Matsu Miners. Time for the bottom of the 9th. Fans that, to their credit, have for the most part not gone anywhere, and they are still cheering very loudly. Kellen Strohmeyer has walked, struck out, and grounded out. He made it to third base back in the 7th inning, which was realistically the last real chance the Miners had to make a game of this. They stranded 2 runners in scoring position, actually left the bases loaded on a Blake Boutz strikeout.
Yeah, one thing I like about these fans, they will not leave for anything. They love their Miners, and they're going to support them all the way through.
Grounded foul down the first base line.
Man, just needed it to be a few more inches to the left that time.
Tommy Eisenstadt got his jersey covered in dirt for nothing. Yeah, so many close calls, but in a game like this, it's unlikely that they would have mattered in the first place. Strohmeyer hits that one well into left field, and Enyart has got it for out number 1.
We went right out to Enyart that time. We've seen some pretty good hitting from Matsu today as far as the deep shots were concerned. He had that initial explosion. They had a couple of doubles in the first 4 innings, and they've still shown power. It's just that a lot of these baseballs have went right to the outfielders in the back half of the game, so it's been a bit unlucky from that vantage point. Matsu has hit a lot of fly balls, but not as many line drives. I think that's what they need more of when it comes to these deep shots is line drives. Going to need to find a way to do that in the future.
Duran cuts and misses. He's 0 for 3. Pair of flyouts and a strikeout. Just a reminder, to stay after the final pitch of this inning is thrown as Brandon Duran gets plunked. He's on for the first time. First hit by pitch issued by the Bucs, and a base runner in the bottom of the ninth for Matsu. As I was saying, after this inning comes to a close, be sure to stick around and listen to what will probably be some somber voices, but voices nonetheless from the Matsu Miners team, coaching staff, players, whatever they decide. They'll be coming up to this broadcast booth and talking about just kind of what happened, what went wrong, what they're going to take away from this game. Good insight into the team, and I recommend you to listen in.
Going to be a great conversation with whoever comes up. We've had Chase Wilcox on, we've had Christian Perez on, and Coach LeBrun himself. We'll see who makes their way up to the press box. Could be Coach LeBrun himself, but whatever takes place, it'll be fun to hear from them.
Well, this guy, Chase Wilcox, could be a candidate because he is the only Miner who has reached base multiple times. He singled back in the second and walked in the seventh, has also struck out, been stranded twice in scoring position. With 1 on, 1 out, 1-1 count in the bottom of the ninth. Miners down by 8. And a cut and a miss there. Rylan Hayter, who is still on the mound for the Bucs, is dealing. He's got that quasi-submarine delivery. Pitches move in weird ways. Their axes are very different. And it can fool even the most experienced hitters. That misses. The umpire yelled, but he yelled ball.
Yeah, that was pretty close to the bottom part of the zone. A little bit off for Hayter, a guy who's already got a few strikeouts in this game. But he's been using that sidearm all the way through, and sometimes it's very close.
And that is another inside strike, and Chase Wilcox is irate. Doesn't let the umpire hear it like he did before in this game, but that inside corner has been very big for the Bucs pitchers specifically.
Yeah, obviously Chase Wilcox not happy about the way that some of these strikes have been called. It's been very, very close, and sometimes you just don't think that the zone is being reflected accurately by the... Well, like we've talked about, home plate umpires always have a different vantage point in a different zone depending on the situation, and tonight the home plate umpire's zone has been in a place that Chase Wilcox just doesn't like, so that's the situation that you can sometimes find yourself running into when it comes to the ABL and baseball itself.
That pitch was outside to Ryan Richard, the 9-man, who is also the last out of the game potentially for the Miners. He takes an inside strike there. Louisiana man has walked, struck out, and popped out. That pitch is in the dirt, stopped by Lamb. 2-1. Appreciate all of you who have stuck around. 38 is vaunted and loved as it is. We know that if you were at the park, you'd be one of the many fans that have not left their seats yet. Outside again, 3 balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, great to have you guys along for the ride, and even though it's been not the result the Miners have been looking for, there's still some good things that they'll be able to take away from this game. Some good performances from a couple of the batters, Chase Wilcox among those.
3-1, right down the middle. Miners down to their last strike.
Yeah, for Ryan Richard, a guy who has been known to force walks this year, it's going to be important for him to keep a close eye on this pitch here.
And that'll be in the dirt. So the Miners get 1 more. They will go through the lineup a 5th time with Drake Kerr. A hit by pitch and a walk, have 2 men on in the bottom of the 9th. Miners have a massive mountain to climb.
And you almost feel like Drake Kerr is due at this point. He's had a pretty quiet game, especially by his standards, but it almost feels like eventually he's going to break through. He's one of those batters that you just can't keep against the wall forever, so I'd say that he'll have at least a good attempt in this at-bat trying to get a hit.
Kerr is 0 for 4. It's just low. Looked right down the middle, but it'll be ball 1. He has popped out, grounded out, flied out, reached on an error. He was part of that 7th inning near miss where the bases ended up being left loaded. And that's an inside take, and it gets to the backstop through the legs of Andrew Lamb. So the runners are going to advance. Duran to 3rd, Richard to 2nd. A couple in scoring position. And the Miners are not dead yet.
Yeah, that was a very needed thing for Matsu. Now you get the count to 2-0, and you've got 2 runners in scoring position, and we know that Drake Kerr is capable of those explosive extra base hits. Remember, he had that triple against the Oilers in game number 4 that happened in the top half of the 8th inning, so he's certainly...
Inside take. Umpire thought about it, but was merciful. That's a 3-0 count. Lamb on the edge, or excuse me, Hayter on the edge of walking the bases loaded here with 2 outs, which would bring up Blake Baltz, who, as you'll recall, struck out to end one of the games against the Oilers, a game that the Miners were right on the cusp of rallying to win. Obviously, pending this at bat, of course. That's on the ground, fielded by the third baseman. Callahan throwing over to first in time to get him and end the game. 9-1 the score. The Anchorage Bucs take it in dominant fashion over the Matsu Miners. The home team finally returning to their friendly confines of Herman Brothers Field, but they were not friendly today. Anchorage Bucs will move to 9 wins and 2 losses and extend their massive lead to 3 games in the ABL standings. The Miners, meanwhile, drop below 500, 5-6, in need of a major run, hoping they'll get it against the Glacier Pilots coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's kind of horribly fitting that the game ends with Matsu stranding 2 runners in scoring position. Their biggest fault of the day was just their inability to score runners in position and on base, and it's a problem that's plagued them throughout this middle part of the year and something that they're going to have to continue to clean up as time goes on. And for now, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board.
Well, just a reminder, the game may be over, but the coverage is not. If you stick around and stay in the chat for a little while, we're going to go to a coming back soon message. We'll be back in a few minutes with a member of the Matsu Miners joining me in the booth. We're going to talk about what happened in the game, what they do from here, and everything else you want to know about the players' perspectives of this action here at Herman Brothers Field. For now, though, with Dylan Simmons, I'm Charlie Fellows, and we'll see you very soon. Well, apologies for keeping you all waiting, but it seems as though the post-game interview will not, in fact, be happening today. We apologize for that. We're going to make sure that we know ahead of time coming up after this when that is going to be the case. Thank you all for staying around in the chat, those that stayed to watch. And for next game, the doubleheader tomorrow in Anchorage against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. First pitch of Game 1 will be at 4, and then Game 2 will be at 6:10. That will be one continuous broadcast.